Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids.
Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 112th reply to comments video. This is the 112th video in which I get to reply to your comments. There's 111 more. I know, Red Snapper is watching them all. And what I do is I basically reply to your comments as the title suggests. I do these every so often. And the reason I make them is because I don't have time to reply to the comments by text. I get too many of them, being a popular channel that I am. But I feel obliged to reply, especially because you guys put a lot of thought and effort into your questions and comments very often. Obviously, I get some trolls and things like that. But very often, it's really, people do a really good thing replying to my comments, and I really appreciate it. Some of the comments are long, thought out. Some of them asking me direct questions or giving me direct feedback. It seems rude not to respond to that. Now, you might think, hang on a sec. I only want to reply to one comment, Ben. I'm not going to watch an entire 9-hour video just for one comment, to reply to one comment. Well, guess what? You don't have to watch a 9-hour video for two reasons. Firstly, there'll be a timestamp under the comment I'm replying to you telling you to within the nearest hour when I'm going to reply to that comment. Secondly, my reply to comments aren't 9 hours. Any videos aren't 9 hours long anymore. They're much shorter now because I do them more often. Another reason to do these videos is because I enjoy doing them. It's fun. Also, you viewers watch them. You enjoy them too, it seems. They're quite popular. They often get hard. They often get like they often get a lot of high viewing figures, and some of you I know watch them all the way through, even if you only put one comment on or something. It also preserves what I call what Stefan Molyneux calls a precious philosophical dialogue, because he laments the fact that all the comments were lost when his YouTube was banned. He's back on YouTube now. I see he's got a new channel. These comments, if for example one of my videos goes or my entire channel goes, which is perfectly possible in this day and age, the comments will be preserved in these videos. Now, apparently there's a show some videos, I don't know exactly how it works. You have a show transcript function, so you just press Control F, and you then have a search function. You can actually find a comment simply that way by going through the transcript, which is generated automatically by the video, so you can skip to a direct answer to the comment you're replying to. So let's begin then. With that being said, let's begin. Glasses on. When I wear glasses like this, I try not to if possible, because they're like big mirrors and you can just go like that. Now you can't see my eyes and I look really weird. But I promise if I do that, then unfortunately, if I do that, then I can't see very well what I'm replying to. So Neil Peel on reply to comments 111 YouTube says, first here. Oops. Oh, what happened? Oh, it just flicked. For some reason, it just flicked to hell. What was that? I'll describe what's happening here. I've got my list of comments here. I've got my list of comments in the comments section on YouTube. But usually we've had to mess it up again, haven't they? They've had to change for its own sake. There used to be like the publish tab, and then there's the held tab for things like spam, which I've got my spam filter at its lowest level to prevent illegitimate comments being spam boxed. But now you have like a drop down menu instead. Why? Why do they have to keep messing with things? Oh, why do I keep messing with things and making it more difficult? Oh dear. All right, so Neil says, first, reply. Thank you for your comment, etc. Thank you, Neil Peel of the Paranormal Peep Show. Red Snapper says, well done, Neil. Neil says, thanks, Red Snapper. Advantages of waking too early has some merits. Red Snapper says, can you ever wake up early? I wish I'd woken up in 2001 rather than 2016. Neil says, I was waking as a kid when I picked up a book on mysteries and watched Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, I've often thought this. I thought to myself when I kind of woke up, well, I mean, I suppose like Neil, I was always into this a little bit. I used to watch Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. I started sort of getting really serious in the 90s. Through the 90s, I discovered the Roswell incident. I got into UFOs and things in the 1990s. As you know, I became active on the forums in the mid to late 90s. By the late 90s, I was regular on all forums, and then 9/11 happened, and then of course the child fingerprinting issue in 2006 really made me what I am today. But anyway, Red Snapper, maybe it was just the right time for you. It was just some people, some people very active in this movement who literally just, they were completely normal until the C word, the disease, and the V word, that was just less than 5 years ago now. Yeah. Hugo Rune says on replying to comments 111 YouTube. Me second. Good morning, all. Good morning, Hugo, or good afternoon now. If you're right, that was 3 weeks ago. But yeah, I should point out that, as I've said, this is the YouTube version of a 2-part reply to comments video. This YouTube version will upload to all my sites, but there will be an alt-tech annex, which will only cover the comments on the alt-tech sites because they're not appropriate for YouTube. That will not be uploaded to YouTube. Just to let you know. Reply to comments 111. Red Snapper, third bronze tinfoil hat. That's right. Yes, indeed. That's better than nothing. Red Snapper, better than nothing. Reply to comments 111. Red Snapper here again. Niall Gardner. Oh yes, this is a guy I mentioned. I mentioned in the video that this is a guy I went to school with. And you can look him. Niall, spelled N-I-L-E. There is alternative spelling. Niall Gardiner, Gardiner. Yeah, he's a British and American conservative commentator. He's the director of the Margaret Thatcher Centre for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation, and was for a time an aide to former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. He's also a commentator on US and British television. He's a frequent contributor to the Fox News Network and the London Daily Telegraph. Gardner is co-author with Stephen Thompson of the book Margaret Thatcher on Leadership, Lesson for American Conservatives Today, Regionary 2013. That's right, yes. I went to school with that guy, and he was the guy I said was head of the school's Young Conservative Club. And in fact, I joked that he was the only member of he was the school's Young Conservative Club. No one else ever joined. But yeah, he had his ideas from a young age when he was a teenager at my school. And I didn't know him that well. His best friend, interestingly, was a guy called Jonathan, who was a member of the Workers' Socialist League, which is a hardline Marxist or Trotskyist group. So they sort of form a friendship through their disagreement. It's a lot of people. Christopher Hitchens always did that. He always used to make friends with people who he disagreed with, because some people just like having arguments. They like having debates. And while we're on the subject, your relationship with Steve Mumbling, says Red Snapper on 111. Yeah. It's something like the symbiotic. He says this: your relationship with Steve Mumbling is something like this: the symbiotic relationship between a hippo and a bird, specifically oxpeckers, is called mutualism. In this relationship, both the hippo and the bird benefit. All right, this is the bird that picks bits out of the hippo's teeth. It acts as the hippo's toothbrush. That's right. Both the hippo and the bird benefit. The hippo gets rid of parasites, and the bird gets a food source. That's right. Is it? No, I think they pick them off the skin. It's the crocodiles that have something to go in the mouth, don't they? Yeah. And of course, you could argue, the crocodile would get a free meal. All he has to do is clamp down on the bird with his teeth, and he gets a free meal. But no, the crocodile keeps his mouth open, leaves the bird alone because they kind of struck a deal. It's symbiosis. That's right. And my relationship with Steve Mumbling is like that. I suppose it is in a way. Like many kind of love-hate relationships, it is like that. The question is, of me and Steve, which of us is the hippo and which of us is the bird? Gin Skim Pivot says on 111. Right. Oh, strap yourselves in. Here we go. Face on Mars cover-up. You're wrong there, Gin. Totally wrong. I'm not really, Ben. That's me saying he's wrong. You said the Mars face was suppressed at the time, and it wasn't. Yes, it was. Yeah, well, I believe it was. If you look at Richard Hoagland on Coast to Coast and the fact that NASA wasn't doing anything. Anyway, let's read on. That was my point. Let's read on. But again, we see the double standard. Opinionated claims trumping, is that a pun? The known evidence. For you to make an assertion that NASA covered up Mars features, you need evidence of NASA finding them first, then taking positive action to withhold or suppress knowledge of them. Hoagland's claims favour a sensational narrative of Brookings Institute control over a space agency, which is apparently up for multiple hoaxes and cover-ups in its peak activity years. This is nonsense that you have no evidence for. Anyone can have an unqualified opinion, Ben, but if you're going to make flat assertions on Mars features cover-ups, and my erroneous position, you have to provide reasonable standard of evidence. NASA and the ESA imagery show no sign of intelligently designed structures. The evidence shows Mars geology and topography. Pareidolia based on sun angles and photo orientation isn't evidence. Sensational opinion doesn't become probative because it favors your own agenda. And me, probative, I think that's not something to do with wills and last wills and testament. Probative. I'm going to have to look that up in a minute. Anyway, because it favors your own agenda. And referring to me to another conspiracy theorist won't do. But this is a common feature of conspiracy theory and Apollo denier lectures, wherever they appear. Assertions, assumptions, and accusations, but no evidence. You make multiple claims and then dug out of corroborating them the moment you're asked to. All right, let's just see. We'll see about that, Gin Skin Pivot. What does probative mean? Probative, having the quality or function of proving or demonstrating. All right, okay. Thank goodness for Google. You don't even need to look it up in a dictionary. All right. You are wrong. You are wrong. I don't think there's a double standard here. You say that I make an assertion of a cover-up. I need evidence of NASA finding them. Right. I think they have been found. I think the evidence has been found, first of all. You bring this up in the third paragraph as well. There are signs of intelligently designed structures. I mean, this has been analyzed by what's the name of the guy? I can't remember his name. It's not Vince DiPietro, Jeffrey Molinar. Vince DiPietro and Jeffrey Molinar, who designed artificially intelligent fractal analysis software for the US military during the Gulf War to spot Iraqi tanks. This is a kind of software. It's actually a kind of program, a kind of algorithm that specifically looks for organized artificial structures in a random natural landscape. They applied this to the Mars imagery, and this software demonstrated that the area of Cydonia has a large number of objects. If this was like applied to a battlefield, it'd be like tanks. In this case, it is objects. So yes, there is a cover-up. There is. NASA did discover intelligently designed structures on Mars. So it's not geology, topography, pareidolia based on sun angles. It's not any of that. So that is, I think, a reasonable standard of evidence in my view. There's lots of other things as well. Richard Hoagland did an entire lecture on this. And then you say, well, as a result of this, I assert there was a cover-up, and you say there was no cover-up. Well, if you've got to ask the question, then why is it that, firstly, you got to ask the question why NASA then said when the Mars Observer probe was sent in 1993 to Mars, NASA specifically said they were not going to waste any time or energy specifically monitoring or verifying the evidence gathered at Cydonia. So they were not going to go and examine this and see if it was true or false. It would be a very simple experiment to do. It has been done in other cases. For example, the Green Bank Observatory did actually do a quick experiment with the Oumuamua when it came past. They monitored it to see if it was generating a signal, because they took seriously the possibility it might be an artificial object. All NASA had to do was get a few good snaps of Cydonia. Then the Mars global, so the Mars, whatever it was called, the 1993 probe, whatever it was called, failed just as it was about to enter Mars orbit. There's a very, very good, where is it? Here we are. David Percy, University of Bradford. Whereas there's a very good, where is it? Oh, I'm not sure I can even find it now. I've got the DVD of it somewhere. But basically, David Percy did a lecture at I think it's the University of Bradford. It was a university anyway. Oh, hang on. Face on. There's many others. Example. Just Google David Percy or Mary Bennett face on Mars. I think I might have found it actually. No, it's not this one. Where is it? It's David Percy, Mary Bennett, the face on Mars. It's David Percy I'm looking for specifically because is this here? This could be it. This is it.
Very short, so please
do look at this. David S. Percy, The Face on Mars, The Avery Connection. That's it. Only uploaded 10 months ago. Please do watch this. It was recorded a long time ago in the 90s. But it's really, really interesting. It's really a really interesting thing. I've got the DVD of it anyway, or I had the VHS years ago. But anyway, in that case, he talks about that. And then what happened next was that there was the Mars Global Surveyor, which launched a few years later. And it was thanks to public pressure generated by Coast to Coast AM and Richard Hoagland that NASA said, all right, we'll get you some really, really good close-up photographs of Cydonia. And then so they did. They went and got these photographs. Then guess what? They were deliberately, and I mean deliberately, manipulated to make them look less interesting. There was this horrible little just outline in this grey sort of mess that was called the cat litter image, because that's what it looked like. It looked like a cat box. And indeed, this was detected. The actual deception to deliberately distort this image and make it look less artificial was detected. Now, that is evidence of a cover-up, Jin. I'm afraid you have to accept that. It's evidence of a cover-up. And then you say Hoagland claims a favour of sensational narrative of Brookings Institute control over a space agency, which is up for multiple hoaxes and cover-ups. This is not evidence this is nonsense you have no evidence for. I do have evidence for it, because theoretically you have to accept that if there's no direct documentation linking the Brookings Institute 1959 peaceful uses of space article with the 1990s Mars exploration mission, or indeed the 1970s Viking and Mariner, the Viking expedition, the Mariner in the 60s, right? But NASA are behaving, indeed the Soviet Space Agency and Roscosmos after it, have been behaving as if they took the Brookings Institute seriously in their warnings. That indicates if you connect that, theoretically it makes sense. So I totally disagree with it. I'm dedicating a lot of time to replying to you, Jin, and I appreciate your feedback, but I completely disagree with you. Moving on, reply to comments 111. Red Snapper is a timestamp. What's this? He's going for all my old videos.
Instructions in these notices, actually. The full notice reads, thank you for your comment. It'll be on a bloody toilet. That's upstairs toilet.
I think that's a macerator toilet, says Red Snapper. I don't know what he has up there, actually. I know he's got a piano, Alan. Red Snapper says here, I'll reply to comments 111, obscurati. Private timestamp, obscurati. What do you mean private timestamp? I don't understand. This is the right. Do read this, okay? Because this is all about that. This is my serial. It's basically I've written 7 chapters of this so far. All right, that's a little advert for my serial. Yes, please do read my serial. And by serial, I'm not talking about HPANWO cornflakes. I'm talking about this series of these chapters of this story I've been writing. It was originally going to be a novel, but I mean, there's no way. I'm never going to write another novel. I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. I don't have the ability to look away from what's going on in the real world now. So there. Red Snapper says on reply to comments 111, why are you banned from the Scottish UFO and Paranormal Conference? Because I don't get on with Alison Dunlop, because she and I fell out. And Alison is very, very powerful in that organisation. I'd say Malcolm, or people running, whoever it is who was running it before, has given her far more power than she deserves. I won't tell you why, but I know for a fact that she has a sway over the other people because I've actually been in a position where I needed a request from somebody and she vetoed it, even though it was a perfectly reasonable request. And the guy I spoke to actually said, yeah, I'll do that for you. She actually overruled it. She's their webmaster. She's their chairwoman. Oh, God. I don't know what else she does. But this is an organization that Malcolm Robertson set up from the sweat of his own brow in the late 70s, almost 50 years ago. And Alison is kind of running it now, from what I can see. But the reason she doesn't like me is because, well, she's one of these people I complain about in my video, Women in Ufology. Just check it out on the channel. She's one of the people I complain about. She would like, if she had her way, UFO paranormal conferences would be socially engineered to exclude a certain demographic. Now, history teaches us that when people who feel demographic hatred and a desire to exclude a certain demographic get political power, that society enters a very dark place indeed. And therefore, I'm very, very concerned about the presence of Alison Dunlop in this organization. And she'll say things like, well, I don't want to exclude the demographic. I know what she'll say. She'll say things like, I don't want to exclude this demographic. I just want to provide some balance by reducing the numbers a little bit so that we allow another demographic or other demographics to take their place. So we reduce the numbers a little bit. So you're below 50%, so 49% maximum. Well, no, if you are telling a demographic group, we can only have so many of you and no more. We will tolerate the presence of your disgusting racial and gender identity up to like 49% of you, and then no more. Then the rest of you are gone. And it's all because it's all based on a misunderstanding of human psychology. It's all based on because what happens is people look at this thing and people look at a particular body of interest, for example, the UFO paranormal subject, and they say, well, how come there's this imbalance? How come, when this demographic is like 50-50 in society with another demographic, the number from one demographic is like 80% and the number from the other is 20%. Something has gone wrong here. Something needs to be fixed, obviously, because people are all identical. People are all exactly the same, aren't they? Obviously, it's tacit misogyny and racism that's doing it. And even if it doesn't exist, even if it's not there and you can't see it, it must still be there somewhere because that's the only explanation. But it's not. It's not. People are not all identical. But I mean, I believe we should all have equal rights, but we're not. Different demographics will gravitate towards different interests. It's an inequality which is harmless and natural and organic. And the reason it's harmless is because no individual is held back by it. No, there's nothing to stop an individual becoming involved. I said this to Paola Harris. She was saying, "Oh, I'm a woman in ufology, and my life's a struggle, and it's not been so difficult." And I said, "Paola, you're one of the most successful people in this field. You're one of the most successful people, and people speak very highly of Paola. I've been at 3 conferences where Paola Harris has been, and she's been treated as an honored guest. So when she says, it's been a struggle, it's not been easy being a woman in ufology, I've got to say, well, Paola, is that what you really think, or is that what feminists have told you you're supposed to think? So Alison completely disagrees with me. Alison is on the other side of the culture war in this, and she holds the power in that organization. That's why she's banned me. Simple as that. And that's fine, but I'm not going to change my mind and apologize and backtrack on anything I've said. I'm not going to pretend I don't think something I do just to get into this conference. I'm not. I'm going to speak my mind, and people can take me or leave me. Right. Oh, we got a long thread now. Neil Peel. It's in 111. So they passed the assisted dying bill. Welcome to Logan's Run. Oh God, yeah. And I mean, I've changed my mind a lot on this lately. I mean, I used to support like the euthanasia movement. I thought people did have a right to decide to end their own life if they wanted. And technically speaking, I still do. But you see, it's going to be used. It's going to be exploited to eliminate vulnerable people, basically. And David Smith says to Neil, yeah, because that's totally the same. Meanwhile, they voted for Trump. Welcome to Children of Men. The difference being I don't need to jump 100 steps to get to that like you. David is often sarcastic. I don't know if he's being now. They voted for Trump. I don't quite understand. That's totally the same. Yeah, because that's totally the same. Meanwhile, they voted for Trump. Children of Men is a book by P.D. James, who's best known for her detective stories about a world in which humans all become sterile. The difference between I don't need to, all right. I don't understand your comment, David, but Neil says, well, Canada have got theirs off to a good start. One disabled guy said he was asking his local hospital when they would install his wheelchair ramp. He had been waiting for 2 years, but he was claimed he offered assisted dying instead. I have similar horror stories about Down syndrome kids being offered the red pill too. Yeah, David, I've heard about stories like that from Canada. They have this medical assistance in assistance in dying, it's called, and there's some horrible adverts that kind of glamorize it. There's even these like these portable gas chambers you can put in your house. I actually wrote a Substack article about this, which I can't show it to you on YouTube, but if you go to my Substack, HPANWO Free, You'll see the article I wrote a couple of years ago about that. The extermination of Down. Yeah, there's people like who have been diagnosed with Down syndrome. They have an amniocentesis test. Most parents actually who are against termination don't have that, but a few have, and they've changed their mind. And the doctor almost puts their foot in the door, saying that we need to offer you a termination. And they're really, really very persuasive. And of course, this goes back to, this reminds me very much of, what's it called? Let's have a look. Just getting my note. Yeah. I wrote an article here. Here we go. Just watch this. Just read this article. It tells you everything. Sorry to refer you to that. Down syndrome termination agenda. Yeah, here we go. This is the Nazis. This is what the Nazis think. This is the Nazis things. This is the Nazi. It says here 60,000 Reichsmarks. I've got a translation for that somewhere. Oh God, why can't I just have every single? Here we go. 60,000 Reichsmarks is what this person is suffering from, a heredity defect. It's cost the people's community during his lifetime. Fellow citizen, that's your money too. And it had a name. What was it? Action with a K somewhere. Oh yeah, Action T4, AKTION. It's a German word. Action T4. A program that ran in Germany from 1938 to 1941, in which people in sanatoria who were deemed incurably sick were given what the Nazi regime called Gnadentod. German is a difficult language to translate into English, but this basically means mercy killing. Over 70,000 people were murdered, mostly children, on official orders from the Governmental Committee for the Scientific Registry of Serious Hereditary and Congenital Diseases. There you go, guys. Welcome to, as you said, it's all coming. History's repeating, isn't it? DJ B2 says Soylent Green. Yes, I've done my first ever watch party was Soylent Green. I did at the beginning of 2022, which of course is when the film is serious. And Paul Wills says, bloody hell, Neil, that Kim Leadbeater is an absolute nutter. Yes, Laughing Kim Leadbeater. Why is she called Laughing Kim Leadbeater? Well, we can actually show you. I can actually show you. Here we go. Leadbeater, Joe Cox funeral. I don't know if it may not be on YouTube anymore, but there's a picture of her. It's not on there anymore, I don't think. But there used to be a YouTube. It's on Richard D. Hall's website anyway. Service for Joe Cox. Hang on. She does a speech at. Here we go. I won't play you all this.
The family of murdered MP Joe Cox.
One child, religious gentleman. Some thanks go to him and his family.
This is Kim Leadbeater at her sister Joe Cox's funeral. As always, it's the comments have been deleted. Oh right, it's the comments underneath that are more interesting than the actual. As always, it's the comments underneath that are more interesting than the actual video. Yeah. Rick Horden says, "Have you seen the state of her face?" Well, you know what they say about and she says, "I know, very wrinkly. She does seem to have aged an awful lot, doesn't she? If you look at her in that image, that was only it wasn't that long ago. That was back in that was back in 2016. That was taken, so it's just over a decade ago, just under a decade ago. And she seems to have aged an awful lot in that time. I wonder why. Maybe there's something inside her draining her energy. Do you know what I mean? Draining her life force." Paul Will's very wrinkly. Rick Horden, have you seen the state of her face? David Smith, I love the way you people blow things up when it suits. But the dear leader, Vlad John Trump, rounding up people without due process, that's fine. David, I don't think that's fine. Now, look, I don't know all the details of that, okay? But I thought that, from what I gather, some of the people who were rounded up in the ICE raids were actual citizens, things like that. And I know that there's some dispute over, there's even dispute over the sovereignty of California. So I'm not made my mind up on that yet, but there are some dodgy things with that. And Gary says, "Oh boy, that movie is stressful." What, Logan's Run? Well, apart from the bit apart from the various scenes with Jenny Agutter, I mean, she's worth watching, definitely. But Neil Peel says, "It's years since I saw it. It probably looks a bit dated now. Whatever happened to Michael York?" Well, he's still around, Michael York. But I don't know. This is in the 70s. This was made. It was quite a cool film, I thought. Gary says, Gary Robinson. Hello, Gary. I don't know if you've ever spent any time in the USA, but the Western states have always had issues with undocumented migrants from Central and South America. Many of them have direct or indirect links to extremely dangerous criminal organizations like Mara Salvatrucha. There's also large numbers of people who enter the country illegally looking for a better life, but many of these end up working jobs that are part of the underground economy and therefore not paying their way. You also have to bear in mind that illegal immigration into the USA is entirely controlled by the cartels. So by repatriating people, it helps disable that particular income stream. The cartels also kidnap girls and women who pay to be ushered into the USA illegally. Many of these are forced into prostitution. Therefore, allowing people to stay in the USA illegally essentially promotes the cartel services, putting more and more people in danger. Well, you know, Gary, I'm not an expert in domestic US politics, but you know, I don't dispute what you just said. There is another side to the story, and you may well be right. And Gary says to Neil, he's still alive, but that's Michael York, but I'm not sure what he's doing in terms of movies. I would imagine he's retired. I think I heard there's going to be a remake of Logan's Run. No, not another remake. Oh, bloody hell. I won't be watching that. Remakes. That's all they do. Remakes and pointless sequels and stupid adaptations from comics. Hollywood is suffering from terrible writer's block. It really is. Michelle says to Gary, almost as if they should be targeting business owners. Why aren't they allowed due process? And Gary says to Michelle, are we still talking about Logan's Run? Neil says to Gary, I know there's a bit of confusion over what Michelle means. She might be meaning the ice raids. Neil says to Gary, I read up on him this morning. He has some kind of disease, unfortunately. That's Michael York. I don't think he can talk either, which for an actor is a sad irony. He's 83 now. David Smith says here, myth to Gary. Myth. Immigrants take jobs away from native-born workers who drive down wages. Reality. Immigrants often fill jobs that native-born workers are unwilling or unable to do, such as those in agriculture or certain service industries. They also contribute to the economy by starting businesses and creating jobs, ultimately boosting overall economic growth. Myth. Immigrants rely heavily on public welfare and are a drain on taxpayer money. Reality. Immigrants contribute significantly to the economy through taxes, including sales taxes, property taxes, and income taxes. They also start businesses at higher rates than native-born individuals, further contributing to the economy. It is a legal right to seek asylum under international and US law. I'm not talking about cartels. If cartels are the problem, then give people easier routes into the USA. Simple fix. And I'll state again, ICE is targeting all immigrants without due process. Right, y'all. There's, as I said, two sides to the story. I don't know which is right, but I can't, but firstly, I've got to challenge you, David. I find it hard to believe that native people won't do agricultural work. I mean, the reason native people won't do that is because the government is attacking farmers so much through their sort of eat the bugs and live in the pod agenda, the Agenda 2030 thing, the World Economic Forum. Maybe that's why people are unwilling to become farmers or agricultural hands. So the rest of it, the rest of the points you make, I don't have the knowledge to challenge you on that right now. Reply to 111 Red Snapper, 146.30, and then they go and spoil it all by spraying something stupid like chemtrails. That's a song, isn't it? Here we go. Oxford Graffiti 12. All right, it's the chemtrails. Yeah, heavy spraying in Oxford that day. Don't you just hate that when you go? I know. And I've just captured some more I'm actually shooting another. I'm actually in the middle of shooting another Oxford Graffiti video, and I've just found some more. 111 English TK. We have now another timestamp. Overwhelming evidence there is a non-human intelligence engaging the human race. So that statement includes dogs, dolphins, chickens, and other animals. Well, all right, English. If you want to be specific, then yes. And he says underneath, I hope you mean things other than the things on this planet. Yeah. Well, if you're going to be literalist about it, I remember that bit. Yeah. And TK says, same with non-human intelligence that fools like Grush were told about. Good luck, Benjamin. Grush is not a fool. Right, and I know there's this big bubble inflating at the moment of, well, I've heard this, but I can't present the evidence now. Ross Coulthard is also in blowing up that bubble very, very, very much indeed, and they can't keep blowing it up forever. It'll pop eventually. And this is the position that they're in. I mean, Dr. Stephen Greer says that they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be having skiffs. It's an illegal thing. There should be a congressional investigation that does table the actual evidence. At the moment, that's not what Congress are doing. Congress are treating this as a legitimate secret that needs to be declassified through the proper channel, what they would regard as the proper channels. So that Congress is taking the opposite view to Stephen Greer. I actually probably agree with Greer on this more than anyone else. But Grush is no fool. Grush wouldn't say what he did and jeopardizing his entire reputation. You know, he's got like 15 years of service. He wouldn't jeopardize that if he didn't know what he was talking about. And so I don't accept that at all. If you have specific reasons for thinking he's a fool, then tell me what they are. DJ B2 says on 111, the other office was at another military base. Read particle beam weapon photo. Oh, that's the. Oh, you were telling me about that. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, you should have put a timestamp, mate. I'm sorry, I can't remember all the details. I can't. Right, Sally Morgan, skeptic fail. This is an old one. Zombilicious. That's a good name. Zombilicious. Are you still a liar who sticks up for criminals? Excuse me. I beg your pardon. Am I still a liar who sticks up for criminals? What criminal offence has Sally Morgan been convicted of? What criminal offence? She hasn't even lost a civil case. She hasn't even been sued. In fact, she won a lawsuit against the Daily Mail. That's why it's a skeptic fails. I mean, the skeptic's flailing around going, oh, yeah, yes, but my earpieces and my Occam's razor and I cover it all in the video. Why don't you just admit you were wrong? Why don't you just admit you fucked up? Even, I mean, there's one guy, what's his name? The guy who interviewed Charlie V. She's the only skeptic who realizes the level of this monumental blunder. But all the other skeptics are just going, oh, no, but my CSI forum said this, and oh goodness me, you skeptics, you say you're the ultimate arbiters of evidence, and you actually pinned down and screwed Peter Popoff the right way by getting evidence against him. Yet you couldn't do that with Sally Morgan. All we heard was, oh, a guy in the audience said he heard a voice backstage. Therefore, we got all the evidence we need. Let's publish an article about it. She's basically pulling a Popoff. Oh, dearie me. Just watch my skeptic video, Zombilicious. You'll find out more about it. You really, really will. Oh, I'm getting AI. I'm getting AI replies now. Oh, dearie me. No, I'll make my own replies. Sweeps Fox says on 111. Thumbs up for this, Ben, but hell yelp. Had to take it in stages. Must be one of your most longest videos. Still managed to stick it out and felt good, mate. Thanks very much, Sweeps. It was one of the. It's not like one of my 9-hour marathons when I was doing them every 2 months, but it's still like it's a long reply to comments video because I had a lot of uploads in that time. I had all the stuff I did when I was in the States, and I had a couple of live streams and everything. Yeah. Reply to 111. Timestamp from Red Snapper. Snapper, brilliant part one. As the late Gareth Davis would say, you'd be like a pig in muck at the US conference, Ben. Red Snapper said, I had to put it in a polite way because YouTube filtered out the original comment. Really? YouTube has filtered out the S word? Red Snapper, oh, bloody YouTube, honestly, man. YouTube, you bloody idiots. Paul Wells says, right, Ben, I'm watching, this is 111. Right, Ben, I'm watching your reply to comments video. Time at 9:18 p.m. Saturday evening. Pork scratchings, check. Beer, check. Happy days. Nice one, Paul. I hope you enjoy this one the same way. Plenty of pork scratchings, etc. Paul Will says on 111. Ben, Corbell is a knobhead. Is he? Knob, N-O-B. Knob. So you mean he's noble because knob is short for nobility. So in other words, he's an aristocrat. No, I know what you mean, but is he? In what way is he knobhead? I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but in what, a knobhead? Really? Is he that bad? Steve Mumbling comes back underneath and says, crass Corbell with his safe full of cash from all the gullible half-wits. Steve, it's a green screen. It's a picture behind him. It's a picture behind him. Let's have a look. Hang on, let's have a look. I'll show you. You can see it, actually. Here we go. Where is it now? Jeremy. There we go. Where is he? Where is this? You see it in some of these things he does here. Oh, hang on. Where is it? You know. All right. You can. Let me just go to images. It'll be in images. There we are. Look, it's just a decoration. It's a decoration. He's got a little typewriter there as well. Steve, I think it's actually just a green screen image. That's all it is. I don't think he actually has a safe in his room. Right, Ben in the Desert 2, Part 3 of 3, Red Snapper. The difference is how quickly it gets darker and lighter between Indian Wells, California, and England is primarily due to their geographical locations and the resulting differences in latitude, which affects the angle of the sun's path across the sky. Thanks very much. I thought it'd probably something like that. But I did notice, not only the different sun angles, especially like in the middle of the day, you can see the sun gets much higher because I'm at a much lower latitude. I'm currently on, I think, the 51st parallel. I think Indian Wells is, I don't know where it is exactly. Let's have a look. Oh, I've got to get the right facts. Here we are. Indian Wells. I'll just put Indian Wells latitude. There we go. Indian Wells latitude 33. Oh, we go. Yeah, it's 33 degrees 33.7176 north. There we go. So it's 33. It's on the 33rd parallel rather than the 51st parallel. So it's much lower, much nearer the equator. So that explains it. Thanks very much, Red Snap. It also explains, of course, why the sun rises even in the middle of summer. The sun rises much later and sets much earlier than it does where I am now. I mean, here, if there's a new video I've actually just been shooting, and I'll be uploading it next week, where you can it's here in the middle of summer, even like at 9:30 coming up to 10 p.m. There's still light in the sky. Yeah. Right, Ben in the Desert Part 2 of 3. Oh, right, and there's a timestamp. This is Red Snapper again.
Notoriously bad. Gaz kept telling me that. What can I say? But I've done 2 American coach journeys now, and what do I have to say about American coaches? Are they as good as the British ones? No.
Oh, right,
a lot worse.
I know, yeah. That's where I described the coaches, and and he says, sorry about your coach toilet experience. No toilet roll. Oh dear. Did you fall foul? It's a shame that spliff was not lit up on the coach. Cover the latrine smell. Oh God, you know what, Red Snapper? Yeah, I think it would have been nicer because I was actually quite near the back of the coach on the left, opposite the toilet, and yeah. I could smell the toilet from there, and yeah, there was no toilet roll. Now, luckily, I didn't need a number 2, so it wasn't too bad. But I felt sorry for the people that did. I don't know what they do in that situation. Just find anything, probably maybe rip off a piece of their shirt tail or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was not the Greyhound. I mean, the Amtrak coaches were much nicer, I must say. The Amtrak coach I got from Bakersfield to LA was quite nice. Right, Ben in the Desert 3 of 3. Clamato. Oh, right, yeah. This is 206.
It's like a Mexican drink.
Oh, this thing, yeah.
These little,
It's a spicy right
yeah. So these little
Yeah, that's the Clamato. That's the drink I had when I arrived. Terry and I went to this place called Tipsy's and had this thing. And she's Clamato. I heard of that tomatoes and clam juice. Not my cup of tea, but the drink looked nice. Oh, it was drinkable. I didn't like it that much, actually, but it was drinkable. And it was something local. It was like a local delicacy that I thought I should try. Because, as I said, when in Fresno, do as the Fresnoans do. Terry recommended it, so yeah. 3 of 3 again, Red Snapper. And this is a timestamp. I think this is... Oh, I know what this is. So I don't think I need to... That's me at the hotel, yeah. The Fresno motel looked pretty nice, but yeah, it does not seem that secure. You could imagine someone bursting in the night. Well, this was a concern. I mean, I know that it's kind of like, it was like an American motel, which they tend to have like these outdoor rooms, which is doors that open onto the car park because they're aimed at drivers, and this one seemed like that. I didn't feel too comfortable. I mean, I didn't leave any valuables in the room. I took my laptop with me on the second day. The first day, I actually hid it under the bed because I thought it'd be a bit safer. But yeah, yeah, I didn't feel that secure there. But it was not a bad room. It was not a bad room at all. I quite liked it. Not perfect, but not too bad. This is Ben Ben in the Desert 2, Part 3 of 3. Big fish. Oh, I know what this is. This is the koi in the Japanese garden, I think. This is, yeah.
Koi. I like heckle fishes.
Yeah, the hecklefish joke. I made that hecklefish joke twice because it was for both videos, Terry's and mine. They were nice, those kois. Yeah, they were really, really nice. Ben in the Desert 2, Part 3 of 3. Right. Oh, right, I know what this is about, the monument thing I saw. I don't need to play this. I know it's about the monument I saw in the garden. It's at 2:27:30 if you want to watch it. In 1939, the Japanese Young Men Association in Fresno, California, was actively involved in the community, including the donation of a Japanese stone lantern to Roding Park as a symbol of goodwill. This event is documented in photos showing community leaders, including members of the Japanese YMA, gathered around the lantern at its dedication. The YMA in Fresno was part of a larger network of Japanese-American community organizations at the time. The Fresno Japanese were a couple of years later put into camps. Was that a shameful period in US history or a legitimate act of war? I think the former. Firstly, in 1939, you can imagine it was kind of the end of an era, wasn't it? Because 2 years later, Japan and the USA would be locked in this extremely destructive conflict. Of course, there was the infamous Manzano concentration camps. Albert Nazaki ended up in there, the special effects designer, who actually talked to Gareth Davis before he died, before both of them died, because he'd witnessed the Los Angeles object, the invasion of 1942. The one with the spotlights shining at it and they're shooting at it and nothing happens. He saw that, and he was walking in the area and he looked up and he saw it. He saw the actual object, and he told Gareth. Decades later, he told Gareth about it. And Albert Nazaki was the designer of the production designer for Robinson Crusoe on Mars, those lobe-shaped flying saucers, and he based it on the object he saw. But Albert Nazaki was put into the Manzano camp as well. And I'd say it was not a legitimate act of war to lock up your own citizens. No, it's not. It was a shameful period of US history. Right, Paul Wills says in 111, bloody hell, Ben, I've been watching you since 2017, and yes, I miss your upstairs pianist. Oh, Alan, yeah, he seems to have gone quiet lately. I don't know why. Yeah, I've heard him play a couple of times, just not when I'm filming. And Neil says, what happened to that guy? Maybe he moved out or passed suddenly and unexpected. Oh, Liberace is his nickname. He's still alive. I saw him the other day. He just doesn't play as often as he used to. Ben in the Desert 2, Part 3 of 3. Oh, this is a timestamp here from Red Snapper.
It's about the British right, I'll tell you.
Well, that's
so it's the opposite of the coaches, which are small and pokey and smelly. Is it clean?
Well, that's me on the train. Yeah, that's right. So we win the coaches battle, and they win the train battle. Yes, absolutely. American trains way better than British ones. British coaches way better than the Brits. It's like coffee and tea. We can't do coffee. The Yanks can't do tea. Yeah. So we all have our strengths and weaknesses. We complement each other. Mind you, the Amtrak coach was nice. Yeah. All right, here we go. 111, Gary Robinson. And I've got automatic bloody AI replies coming up. I'm not using the bloody AI replies. I'm using my own. Hey, mate, great that you previewed the Reading episode of the Paranormal Peep Show. I think that you and Neil should probably promote each other's videos on socials and on the YouTube community section. It goes without saying that your subscribers would be interested in the Paranormal Peep Show and vice versa. Great to see you and Mark and Liz today. Pride and dignity, brother. Pride and dignity to you, Gary. Yeah, that was at the geoengineering protest. We all met up. And Neil says, here's a plan. Ben is on our payroll. Yeah, I'm not actually going to put the video up because on my channel, but I am going to play the video recording on the HPANWO show on HPANWO Radio. Okay, so it will be there. And Gary says there's a lot to be said for cross-promotion when it comes to promoting colleagues and friends, etc. Absolutely. And Neil says, absolutely, just like support bands getting exposure to the audience of the headliners. Yeah. That's what I will do. I mean, I've got a couple of things in the way first, but then, Gary, I will be putting that discussion up on HPANWO Radio, yeah. 111, Paul Wills. Oh, Ben, we need more people of colour at these conferences. Laugh, laugh. I know you're laughing. You're joking. Yeah. I know you're not going all Alison Dunlop on me, are you, Paul? Yeah, of course. Well, the people of colour who were there, and there were quite a few of them. I mean, some of them were very successful. Look at Billy Carson. They do very well. No one's holding those people back. No one. I mean, when Billy Carson was in Blackpool, I met him. No one even referred to what color he was. It was not even mentioned. And he didn't do this, and no one even asked him. It's like with Kelly Chase. I mentioned that Kelly Chase was not asked the inevitable question, and no one ever asked Billy Carson the inevitable question either. And that's good. That's good. Paul Wills on reply to comments 111. Rudlow Manor, Ben. Oh yes, Paul. Have you seen the video where I go to Rudlow Manor with the crafty nihilist? Ben in the Desert 2, part 3 of 3. Red Snapper, who says here. We've got a timestamp. How am I doing for?
We've taken off successfully. Been in the air a few minutes. The lights haven't come back on yet.
Oh, that's me on the flight home. Yes, looks a bit like green aliens. They're actually they're emergency lights. I think I'll just show you. Hang on, I think I will actually show you this.
We've taken off successfully. Been in the air a few minutes.
Oh yeah.
The lights haven't come back on yet. But recently, something strikes me about this aircraft that makes it very superior to the one.
Right. Yeah. That's actually the toilet sign. There was a toilet. I was lucky. I was on the aisle and there was a toilet right behind me. So yeah. This is 3 of 3 of Ben in the Desert. Amazing to be in a 380. Hope you went for a walk. Oh yeah, and he says underneath, yes, you did. Yeah, all right. Thanks, Red Snapper. Yes, I've never been on one of those A380s, those double deckers before, and it's very good. And I did take the opportunity to have a little walk up to see if I could get onto the top deck, which I couldn't because the different parts of the cabin are all sealed off once you're in the air. But yeah. Part 3 of 3 again, Red Snapper. A tour de force, this video series. I'm pleased you had a good time. Will you be going again next year? I don't know, Red, but I bloody hope so. I do. Right, Ben and Terry. This is the Ben and Terry video. Here we go. 6:15. So that has actually happened. So I have watched it though with interest. I actually missed the actual demonstration, but I must admit I've watched it with interest. What's this particular league? But I don't think it should have been done. Right, what's this? Let me go. Themed channels, shall we say? So that has actually happened. Oh, let's go. I cannot support because I think it's. Oh, wait a sec. I'll go back a bit. I think the timestamp's not quite right, Red, but no worries, no worries. I'll just let people watch it so they don't get bored. Here we go. It deals with severely autistic people who actually cannot even speak and cannot communicate at all with anyone in the outside world. All right, yeah, okay, right. This was what happened here is that somebody, despite the requests at Contacts in the Desert, nobody filmed the features, and I didn't. I made sure I didn't even film little clips like I did last time. So there's no footage at all of the features. Somebody secretly filmed the demonstration, the telepathy demonstration of and right. I'm afraid I'm not going to. And this, of course, is a bootlegged thing which shouldn't have been filmed. It did involve vulnerable people, so no, I don't support it. I think it's wrong. But I'll tell you what. So look, Vetted podcast. I'm just going to. You can find it on the Vetted podcast. He did actually show it. I'm not going to show it to you, but he. Let me just find it for you. Yeah, the telepathy tapes experiment. I'm not going to show it to you or anything like that. But Vetted back a month ago did upload a video in which he actually included the bootlegged footage from the telepathy tapes. Yeah. So I'm not going to link to the leak, but you can go and watch it on the Vetted podcast if you want. Red Snapper. The reason I won't read, I did actually explain, Red Snapper, that I think it was wrong to do that. Not just because the organizers specifically asked us not to. They said, please, could you not film anything? And I went along with that. But also because the telepathy tapes does involve some vulnerable people. And I think the privacy is an issue there as well. Ben and Terry and Red Snapper says, you forgot to do some field research on the Fresno Nightcrawler. Oh, bloody, tell me about it. Tell me, oh, God. You know, it was only afterwards. I actually remember thinking when I first made the plans to go and visit Terry in Fresno. And I was thinking about the Nightcrawlers. Oh, God. Ugh. But I'll tell you what I did. What I did was I actually covered them here in Third Rail Radio Program 212 on Monday, the 30th of June. Subjects discussed include the Fresno Nightcrawlers. Yeah. A very interesting subject. And and it's all in that particular program if you want to watch. I won't say anything about it now, but I do go into that. And I actually mentioned in the video that I was actually really annoyed with myself for forgetting that. Ben and Terry 2, Woodward Park. Is Terence McKenna a hero and visionary for you, Ben? Yes, he is. He is, Red Snapper. I respect him a lot. I think I've listened to all his talks. And he's done like 100 hours of them. Right, Jinskin Pivot. Right, oh, here we go. It's another marathon from Jin. What's he got to say here? This is on 111. Right, the face on Mars. Oh, right. If you repeat the same points, I'm gonna have to just leave it, Red or Jin. Okay, but you say here, the face on Mars and surrounding allegedly non-natural features. That's my point. Quote, please do look at Richard Hoagland and his work on that. Check out the research that's been done on Cydonia, unquote. By research, I take that to mean the only sources available then and now, NASA orbiter imagery of specific Mars regions and named features. I used the contemporary stuff Hoagland interpreted with his opinions as a known conspiracy theory, and then later processed, unprocessed, targeted images in HR from Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Orbiter Camera, and I state exactly what they show in finer detail. You can now go full screen on the Mars face Cydonia and DNM pyramid over at JPL, and you'll find nothing suspicious carved, engineered, or unusual for such large swathes of natural geology, topography, and long-term erosion. Check it yourself and be honest. I think we're nearly at the end of an hour. Yeah. Sorry. Check it yourself and be honest about what you see, not what you can apply confirmation bias to. Some consistency has to be brought into this NASA are liars theory, because here's the current scattergun approach used by you and your fellow cover-up colleagues. 1. NASA censors orbiter photos to hide engineer structures. 2. On the Moon and Mars. 2. NASA fake photos from scratch, especially from Apollo, LRO, and Mars missions. 3. NASA whistleblowers have leaked stuff out in Apollo, LRO, Mars imagery. 4. NASA sensors have been incompetent in missing suspicious objects in Moon, Mars imagery. 5. NASA sensors have been incompetent in only partially hiding stuff or leaving large pixelated clues. 6. NASA are smart, certainly, but can't spot a C on a prop rock. 7. NASA imagery isn't credible for all the above reasons. 8. NASA imagery is entirely credible when interpretation is woo-woo and sensational. 9. If NASA publishes research, entire papers, pages of math, and HR imagery, it's all part of the cover-up. 10. If CTs write opinionated books about ET life, murder of astronauts, and say, the space vacuum is a force that can destroy a LEM and not a state of emptiness, it is research. Get back in touch with reality, Ben. The Mandela effect is a brain fart like deja vu. Pilots don't spray populations with chemtrails, somehow held in vast quantities in commercial flights, and which only issue from engines. Renaissance religious paintings aren't ET evidence, and aliens don't drop abductees off near phone boxes in a hostile climate just to get better press. Let's have some evidence-based honesty, not toadying, affirmation, and agreement. Okay. Right. Okay, so let's start with Richard Hoagland in Cydonia. And you say here, you can go full screen on the Mars face Cydonia at JPL, nothing suspicious, etc. All right, to be honest about what you see. Yes. The answer is now, yes, you can actually go full screen, HD images. Yes, you can. You can actually see these things as they're supposed to be seen. That I accept. The point is not that these things are available now. The point is that it took so long and so much public pressure for NASA to publish these high quality images where you see them full screen, HD, etc. And when you do look at these things now, full screen, HD, etc., you'll find there is suspicious elements. There are carved engineers. There are things that are carved and engineered. And it's not just large swathes of natural geology, topography, and long-term erosion. There is erosion on them, which you'd expect after, 2 billion years or whatever it was that these things were constructed. You would expect that. But the fact of the matter is that the algorithms are correct. The algorithmic software was correct. It did spot these things. It did point them out as artificial and things like that. And indeed, there's lots of other evidence to suggest these things are artificial, the regularity of the sides, things like that. Now, you could say it's coincidence, and of course, coincidence is an unprovable fallacy, as I say. It's the skeptic's get out of jail free card, as I explain in my skeptic videos. So yeah. And you say there's no consistency here. NASA censors orbiter photos to hide structures, and they fake stuff and they fake things from scratch. Yes, they do. And NASA whistleblowers have leaked stuff out. Yeah. NASA censors have been incompetent in missing suspicious subjects. Yes, they have. In fact, this is number 4 here on your list. Peter Robbins is actually I don't like this. I can't stand the little bastard, but he did a very, very good talk at Contact all about that. He also made the point, and indeed David Percy and Mary Bennett have made this point, that some of these mistakes are too obvious not to have been made deliberately. And indeed, this number 5, NASA censors have been incompetent in only partly hiding stuff or leading pixelated clues. Yes, they do, and indeed, some of this is deliberate. And NASA are smart but can't spot a sea rock. They can't. No. You see, the thing about it is they're not perfect. This is something that slipped through, either accidentally or on purpose. It slipped through the filter and it was published. NASA imagery isn't credible. No, it's not. NASA imagery is entirely credible when interpretation is woo-woo and sensational. That is a non sequitur. You should be more accurate to say NASA imagery is there and it is interpreted by woo-woo sensational people, to use that term if you want, and these mistakes are spotted. I think that would be more fair to say. And 9, he says, if NASA publishes entire papers, it's all part of the cover-up. Well, no, it publishes material on what's been discovered, but the question is, did for example, NASA has published what it talks about the retroreflector. So it says, well, they know the exact distance to the moon because of the retroreflector. That's in their papers, their research papers, which they publish, and therefore you could say, well, that's a scientific experiment that was done. And is that part of the cover-up? The answer is no, it's not part of the cover-up. It is a scientific experiment to find out exactly how far away the moon was from the Earth. They have a retroreflector. You fire a laser at it, you can get a response. You can get like a reflection from it, okay? By timing how long that reflection takes, you know the exact distance to the moon. It can be measured to the nearest meter, apparently. That is an experiment that was done, right? But that's not the point. The point is, so it's not all part of the cover-up. The question is, do we know it was put there by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's hands? That's the point. It doesn't matter what's in the papers and the pages of math and HR imagery, and the imagery I think does, but the research entire papers and pages of maths. That's the point. And then number 10, if CTs write opinionated books about ET life, murder, yeah, and etc., it's research. Well, you use the word opinionated. That's a piece of rhetoric. I'd say these are analysis. This is independent analysis of the data, which the people very often have no skin in the game. They have nothing to lose by saying what they think, unlike someone within the institution that would. The last bit is a whole list. You bring up this. It's a piece of rhetoric along with a number of subjects here: the Mandela effect, deja vu, the Mandela effect. Just wait for my read party on Anthony Peake's book, all right, and the other things. Or watch the videos I've already made about Anthony Peake. Chemtrails, again, I've covered that. You're wrong there. Renaissance paintings, ET, you're wrong. Abductees being dropped off near phone boxes, that's Travis Walton. Correct. You're wrong there, and I'm correct. They did do that. They dropped him off near a phone box. They didn't want to drop him off in the middle of the woods. Apparently, it was snowing hard. It was very cold. It was snowing heavily. He'd have died if they just dropped him off where they found him. So they took him to a place near Heber where there was the phone boxes. So yeah, you're 100% wrong. Okay, that's the end of an hour. In fact, we've gone slightly over. There you are, Jin. I'm very generous to you with my time, aren't I? We're back shortly. Back. Welcome to part 2. This is going to be a long one, actually, which is surprising because the last reply to comments video was only Saturday, the 21st of June, so it's only less than 3 weeks. But there's been so many comments. I think maybe my channel's becoming more popular. But anyway, we got Gin Skin Pivot again. Read more. What's this? Reply to comments 111. Oh, oops! I've got to get the timestamp. It's the second hour we're on now. So let's just see how that is. Actually, I'll just check. Have I done? Yeah, I have done the share screen thing. Yes, I have. Okay. Jin says here, can't get the links to resolve on the thread, Ben. Oh, right. Sorry, Jin. That's an ongoing problem. YouTube. it's YouTube's fault. It's not me. It's not my settings or anything like that. But go to the Mars Global Surveyor, Mars Orbiter camera on Mail-in Space Science Systems when you have a few minutes to spare. Here, you'll find all Mars Orbiter imagery, including zoomable full-screen shots of Cydonia with face in context, the face minus oblique sun angle casting shadows into depressions, the DNM pyramid in HR. Tell me where you see anything that's engineered or of intelligent design. Right, Jen, that's that. I'm not going to do that right now because that would be a huge subject, which I'd need to research some more, or rather to revise some of the information I've already had. But yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea for an entire video. I mean, we could go through these images, But I stand by what I said to you before. I don't agree with you. I think there is more to this than that. And just because the imagery is now available, it's the reticence with which NASA made it available is really quite extraordinary. And they obviously didn't want us to see this. I honestly don't know why they would do that if it wasn't they were just very, very worried about us seeing these things for some reason. Okay, Red Snapper says on Ben Emlyn-Jones at the West Usk Lighthouse Conference 2025. Have you ever been to Rooster's Barbers? No, I do my own with a razor, Jen. 111. Rich Horden. Hey Ben, have you bumped into UFO investigator David Jones recently? If you see him, would you encourage him to hang back on the expos? David Jones has been a little bit absent. I mean, he seemed to pop up for just when he was needed to allow me to sneakily enter the Hull OLM conference a couple of years ago. But now he has taken a step back and retired. Definitely. Well, but I don't know exactly what I mean, but would you encourage him to hang back on the expose? I don't know quite what you mean, but yeah. Good old David. I couldn't do without him. Right, 111. Right, there's a timestamp here by Rich Horden.
Told me you'd been fisted on my video. I would certainly remember that.
Oh, right. First law. Fist law. Oh, God. Rick Horden. Sorry, Rick, not Rich. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the exact context of that, but it was a very, very, all kinds of weird things come up on my channel. Yeah. Jin Skin Pivot says on Usk Lighthouse, Spielberg's best ET association, and it has a Roswell connection. Is his miniseries Taken from 2002? All 10 episodes are on YouTube. Yes, indeed, Jin. I've seen it. Yes, it is. It's a really, really good series. I'm not sure I could watch it again actually because it's quite emotional and it's a bit overwhelming emotionally with Ali, the little girl, and everything. It's just a bit much, but it's so good. It's very well researched. It's pretty clear that he actually did get even though in 1997 he said he'd lost his interest in UFOs, he did actually regain it. Although I don't know exactly what his role was in Taken because it just says Steven Spielberg presents. Now, he wasn't the director or producer or anything like that, so he had some kind of maybe ceremonial role. I don't know what it was exactly, his input onto that. And the series is not in his style. I don't know. So, but yeah, it's pretty clear he still wanted in some way to be associated with UFOs. Yeah. 111 timestamp. Water. No goose crying over spilled water. 8:17. Pleased to see a Tom. What's this? A gentleman of colour at a conference at. Oh right. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I meant Todd, not Tom. You probably thought I meant Uncle Tom. And yes, of course, I was joking. I read. It's all right. I didn't actually read anything into that. I really didn't. I'm not the sort of person who's very, very paranoid about political correctness. Quite the opposite, in fact. So fear not about that. But yeah, yes, Todd. There's another example of. I know you're joking, but there's another example of a person who has a racial demographic background where he's a minority. I mean, a minority within his own demographic community because of his interests. Now, that doesn't hold him back. No one's holding him back. I mean, if there was anyone there who looked down their nose at him because of his color, I'd be very angry with that person and I'd challenge them, and I'm sure most other people would too. But yeah, I mean, again, this didn't even come up, I don't think. Yeah. 111, and here we have another timestamp here from Jen.
quite glamorous. I mean, I wouldn't say attractive because I can't think of women that young in those terms.
Oh right, yes, that was those two. That was the strange. Those girls turned up. These two young women. I say girls. They were 20-something ladies. And UFO Bill was kind of like quite friendly with them, and they sat and they talked. I was there with UFO Bill and his wife, whose name escapes my attention now. I'm not sure if I got UFO Bill right, but we were talking to them for a while, and Bill got the idea that they were hybrids. He even said so on stage during his speech. Does the UFO movement really attract young 20-somethings ladies? How often? I disagree, Ben. They were probably hybrids. Yeah, well, how often has it attracted 20-something ladies? Well, look at Christina Gomez, an excellent contributor. She's a 20-something young lady. So yeah, it sometimes does naturally attract 20-something ladies. Just because a 20-something lady shows up at one of these events does not mean they're naturally hybrids. So yeah, I mean, and it turned out that they weren't actually. They didn't have tickets to the features. They happened to be there, and they were telling us about how they just took an interest in what was going on. They didn't actually go there specifically for that reason. Well, it's odd though. I mean, you see, it's worth bearing in mind that, you know, this is in terms of the like the season. It's actually the off season. Midsummer is the off season in that area. It's the autumn and spring where they get busy with golfers. And indeed, the hotel I was in was like far less full than it normally gets. So really, if it is the only reason there was large numbers of people at a hotel was our conference. So what were they there for? Yeah. 111 Red Snapper. I was so saddened to hear Miles's conference was cancelled. Yeah, me too, Red. Me too. And I mean, I actually got a text from Miles while I was over in the States. He texted me and said, "I've cancelled the conference." I said, oh dear. I did text him back. I mean, it was 22p a text, but I texted him back. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Miles. What was the problem?" But yeah, I mean, he gave reasons. He gave a little video giving his little reasons why that was. Hopefully there'll be another one soon. Steve Mumbling says, "Oh God, here we go. Another bullshit fest bites the dust." Steve, you will take those words back when Miles reschedules the conference. You will. Red Snapper says on Usk, "Always bring the road atlas, Ben. Get an update." Well, yeah, it's something to carry. I know I do it out of principle, but you know I actually did have the Cardiff road atlas on there. Yeah, but it's just so much easier to use the phone, isn't it? But I mean, I did have my Cardiff and Newport road. Actually, it's the thing is though, the place I wanted to go to is not on that map. 111 Red Snapper, just like old times. The length of this one, God, yeah. I got a feeling this one. I'm still only about like a third of the way through, and I'm well into the second hour now. So yeah, maybe it's because I'm getting more and more comments. I mean, not that I don't complain about the number of comments. Your own comments, you put in loads, and the more the merrier, Red Snapper, and the more the better. The same goes for Jin Skin Pivot, who's contributed a lot. The longer and more detailed their comments are, the better. I mean, there's no time limit on me doing this. I could just put it aside and carry on tomorrow if I wanted. 111 Red Snapper. Thanks a lot for all the replies. I know you're a bit flustered at the end. Please let me know if I'm commenting too much. Good reply to comments as ever. Red, no, you are not commenting too much at all. I really respect the time you take to and everyone else takes to put their point across and to leave such detailed comments, sometimes deliberately addressing me, you know, inviting a reply, asking questions. The same goes for Jin Skin Pivot, who of course completely disagrees with me, but you know, I'd really be upset if he didn't. I think it's a he. Is it a he or she? I think it's a he. I've got a feeling it's a man. If he decided not to do it, because I really like the fact that he asked me these challenging questions and I get to examine my own position and test my own beliefs against dissent. So you, Jin, and everyone else are very welcome to comment as much as you like. Seriously, please don't hold back. And now we have another one from Red Snapper. This is Apollo Detective 12, the Steve Mumbling special. Yes, the Mumbler himself actually appears on one of my videos. This is great. This is great.
Chocolate brownie.
What, chocolate brownie? That's one.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, does it taste?
Yeah, this is This is the Mars rock, the moon. Sorry, the moon rock that Alan has. Marcus Allen has. Marcus has that moon rock now. Yeah, it's supposedly a moon rock. It looks to me like a chocolate brownie. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Peasmore 4 Delta Gate. Right. Oh, I love these videos. They were so cool. I went around with Tina, another blonde, and we had a wonderful time. GRG Walk says here, I think, Gurgur Walk, I don't know how you pronounce that. That chimney is the old Didcot power station. Yes, indeed. Now, you don't put a timestamp in, G, but, you know, it doesn't matter. I know what you're talking about, and people can see it. That's actually a piece of history there, because that power station's now gone. It's been demolished. It's been demolished. Yeah, they could have left it there just for old time's sake, I think. But no, they actually had to knock it down. They could have left it there just for decoration. It's one of the great landmarks of the South Oxfordshire Plain, and indeed it appears in a couple of my videos, because I've made several videos in that area. Tessa 1111, hello Tessa. This is on Told You So Ben live stream. Waves to Ben. Yeah, I've actually had some comments that were posted on Blogger, which I'd like to address here, because I didn't have time to write a big, long, detailed reply. I didn't have time to write a big, long, detailed response on Blogger. But of course, I wrote an article. This refers to an article I wrote on HPANWO Voice the other day called "What No List," and it's this one here. And as the meme says, if there are no clients, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? Yeah. And someone wrote some comments which I want to there, which I said I'd reply here, because I want to address it here. So first of all, anonymous said here, the reality is don't vote in convicted felons and fraudsters and expect anything other than rampant corruption. If you are still reading the 17th letter fan fiction as it descended 2 years ago when the originator was hacked and the account stolen, and the second letter thing was using hits to drive revenue from before being exposed, it's probably about time you understand. Trust the plan is trust me, bro. Focusing purely on the Epstein case, it's obvious there is no client list, never has been. It's just a bunch of evidence files that name victims which can't be put in the public domain and may or may not allude to individual clients in some cases, perhaps even Trump. Maxwell's conviction was about her and the Epstein using and abusing the victims before, therefore she's guilty as charged. If nation states don't even have the ability or resources to blackmail presidents and entire departments such as the FBI, especially under Kash Patel. Oh, interestingly, he's quitting Kash Patel. He's handed in his notice. I wonder why. If they try the amount of resources to bring them to justice, it would be huge and available under Trump. It doesn't take much to state with confidence it's no individual case of blackmail, and I'm happy to call BS on that one. If you want to believe a conspiracy, just follow the money. Somebody paid to bury it, or there was never anything to reveal in the first place. Reminds me of the UFO saga. Is this the God-fearing Christian version of disclosure to expose all those Democrat pedophiles which may or may not exist? Where to go from here? The non-fiction section, perhaps. All right. Firstly, the reality is don't vote for convicted felons and fraudsters and expect anything other than rampant corruption. I quite agree, which is why when people voted for Trump, they thought they were getting something better because he was different. I do not accept this idea that, well, Trump's always been a bad guy. And it's only, this backslapper line. Well, Trump's always been bad, and if you think otherwise, you're naive, and only we can see it because we're backslappers and we're superior. I don't go along with. That's not me quoting you, by the way, or parodying you. It's just that's how I see it. As for that little letter of the alphabet, the one between the 16th and the 18th, fan fiction. Now, the thing is, there was a lot of fake letter accounts. I remember that. And unfortunately, obviously, something's gone wrong with the plan. So trust the plan is trust me, bro. I can't disagree with that right now because, unfortunately, if based on the last week and what's happened in the States, something very dark is going on. And even the big orange giant himself got very defensive when someone brought this up during a cabinet meeting. He started trying to play a guilt trip on this guy, talking about the Texas floods and things like that. That's out of character. And indeed, the same goes for Kash Patel and what's his name, Bongioni, and these other people, and Pam Bondi. she had that. She had the file on her list. She had the file on her desk, and now she says, "Oh, it's not a list of clients. It's just some really horrible things that Epstein was into, and I don't want to show you them because it's criminally obscene." Maxwell's conviction. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted on 4 counts of kidnapping and aggravated rape, and we're supposed to believe it was simply her and Epstein basically kidnapping these children and abusing underage girls for their own needs and their own pleasures. I find that based on all the other evidence and the circumstantial evidence associated with this, including Epstein's conviction previously, I don't buy that. She's guilty as charged for what? She's guilty as charged for kidnapping and aggravated rape of a large number of young women, one of whom, Virginia Roberts Jeffrey, has died, strangely enough, conveniently. I'm sure Prince Andrew's breathing a sigh of relief. Why is that? Why was this such a high-level trial with so much involved? So much was hidden, so much not talked about. Right, if nation states don't have the ability or resources to blackmail presidents and entire departments, if they try the amount of resources to bring them to justice, well, they do have the ability, obviously, to blackmail people. Whoever's behind this, the deep state, is clearly has some kind of stranglehold on Trump, on Patel, on Bonjonia, on Bondi, on all these people. They still have power. This is what my article was about. You could pause and read it if you want. I'll show it you again. Pause and read here, or you could just go to the URL and you can read it for yourself. But what the hell is? And these are the comments here. And I said that there's some more comments here I didn't copy. Yeah, this is missing trillions. I'll come to missing trillions in a minute. Oh, the crafty nihilist said, "Hi Ben, we may have been right, but we never called anyone naive, and as you know, don't appreciate being called backslappers. Can you be a bit more gracious? With love, LNM." And I said here, "Hi LNM, that's the crafty nihilist. I never meant you. I don't think you're backslappers like Kelly Chase. You have the wrong personality." Yeah, I should clarify that I don't think the crafty nihilists are backslappers. Backslappers are not just people who have these ideas; they're people who have a particular personality. And Kelly Chase is another example of a nice backslapper, or a backslapper who's not a real backslapper. Okay. If it's a case of, it doesn't take much to state with confidence it's no individual case of blackmail, and happy to call BS on that one. It's not a case of individual. Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Epstein was individual blackmail. Trump appears to be on that. Now, some people say, well, Trump was on the client list, which is why it's now all been shut down. That doesn't make sense. Firstly, the flight manifests. He only took 2 flights on the Epstein airline, and it was between Florida and New York. And secondly, he campaigned on this issue. Why would he do that if he would incriminate himself? If you want to believe a conspiracy, just follow the money. Someone paid to bury it, or there was never anything to reveal in the first place. Okay, there was something to reveal in the first place. It's possible bribery was involved in this, but I suspect it's more likely blackmail than bribery, in my view. Reminds me of the UFO saga. Well, unfortunately, yeah, if you look at the activities of Kirkpatrick, yeah. What's his name? Yeah, Sean Kirkpatrick. It is similar in the sense that a load of promises are made. There's lots and lots of hope, and then suddenly that's all like just people are just talking about like how it never happened. Yeah. Is this the God-fearing Christian version of disclosure to expose all those Democrat pedophiles? Not just you say Democrat, but I mean, what about the never Trumpers in the GOP? Some of them are involved too. It's the Uniparty, remember? Which may not even exist. Well, if they don't, well, the thing is, you say if there's nothing to reveal in the first place, they may not even exist. I've just explained why something has to be there. There's smoke, there has to be fire. Missing Trillions then says this: after all the treachery, you're still sniping at backslappers and complaining about their cynicism. Okay, then, if you want to reduce everything to personal traits, then I'm clever and you're naive. There are no white hats, and Trump and his team are all lying scum. That's where the evidence points. One thing you didn't mention was that the US never stopped providing intelligence to support to Ukraine, and the supply of weapons has resumed. According to some reports, Pete Hegseth has ordered weapon shipments to stop, and Trump has personally reversed that order. So we have Trump riding roughshod over the people who are supposed to be in charge of defense and intel. He's worse than his team and has paralyzed it. Perhaps he's waiting to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and then he'll start fighting back. Okay. After all the treachery, I'm still sniping at backslappers. Yes, I am, because the thing is, the backslappers start missing trillions. The backslappers may have been proved right, but they started saying all this before all this evidence came out, and indeed I debated with them on the evidence, and it's felt to me as if they were like trying to cover all bases so they would inevitably be right if it turned out that I was wrong and that Trump failed. So that is, in a sense, a very negative position to begin with, especially when the facts didn't at the time support that position. So yeah, I make no apologies for what I said to the backslappers before this particular episode. I think some of them obviously have been proved right, and they're not just backslappers. I mean, the crafty nihilists have always taken a low opinion of Trump, as many others have. David Icke as well. You know, he said, "No, Trump's not your savior, guys," etc. And one thing I didn't mention about Ukraine, right? You say one thing you didn't mention was that the US never stopped providing intelligence support to Ukraine, etc., etc., etc. Hegseth ordering weapon shipments to stop, Trump reversing it. I didn't mention that for two reasons. Firstly, it's not relevant to the actual specifics of that article, and secondly, I didn't know about it. If it's true, then it's another sign, unfortunately, that that the swamp is draining Trump. In which case, we're in a situation. And then you say maybe he's waiting to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and then he'll start fighting back. I don't know when he's going to start fighting back, if ever. Missing trillions, we can only hope he does. I think that's simple as that. I think what I'll do is I'll put a timestamp on Blogger, actually, just to say when I've replied. Here we go. Here we go. It's a bit of a thanks for it'll answer approximately within the second hour. There we go. I put that on Blogger. There we go. Okay, guys. So what's next? Steve Mumbling says on 111. Right. Nimitz didn't show faster than light communications. He would have won a Nobel Prize if he had. He started with a microwave radio signals. Those travel at the speed of light in free space and slower through anything else. No component of that signal can go faster than the original microwave signal. Do some research and get facts. Get some facts, capitals, for a change. You and hogwash are in the same basket. You support science fiction rubbish because you don't understand it well enough to know it's science fiction rubbish. All right, Steve. Well, look, I don't think you necessarily would win a Nobel Prize if you come up with something like that because, well, you might do. I don't know. But as for the rest of it, that's not how I recall. I'm not going to go back and revise everything I talked about in that video and with Simon. If you disagree, maybe you put replies on there at the time, which I don't remember, and things like that. So what exactly happened? How did that radio signal with the music pass through that object? Was it just simply transmitted normally and the waves just pass through the objects? I mean, you know, electromagnetic waves can pass through solid objects to a certain extent. So was that it? Because that's not what the impression I got. Because that's not. If he simply pointed the transmitter at a wall and there was a receiver on the other side and the waves passed through the wall, well, that happens all the time. It's happening with my phone right now. I'm indoors. I've got a signal on my phone. Okay, that's because the telephone transmissions, the 4G telephone transmissions, are linking my phone through the walls of my home. Okay, that's not remarkable. So what did Nimitz do? Because if he'd done that, everyone would have just said, well, so what? Are you reinventing the wheel now? You know. So tell me what actually did happen then, if it wasn't like quantum tunneling. Told you so, Ben livestream. Hope it went well, Ben. The Riverside was crap. Won't be using that again. Oh, right. That's referring to a recording that Neil and I did beforehand. Yeah, it's just it was something called Riverside, which is like a kind of Skype substitute, which is awful. Told you so, Ben livestream. Cole Costello says, we love Ben. Oh, thank you, Cole. Much appreciated. 111, fake Christians exposed. Laughter, lots of laughter emojis. Ben is not a fake Christian. Lots of capitals and emojis. That's true. I don't think I'm any kind of Christian. Told you so, Ben. Linton H. Ricketts. That's a good name. Linton H. Ricketts. Melsham McDonald's. What's it? Melksham McDonald's. Mrs. Dave Elms and his Marmite tattoo. What the hell are you talking about, Linton? Melsham McDonald. Mrs. Dave Elms and his Marmite tattoo. Told you so, Ben. Linton says here, another clone of Rob Nye. I worked with I think she was SSP to USMCSS. All right. Another clone of Rob Nye. Okay. I'm trying. You again. Your spelling and punctuation. There's nothing here. There's just a list of words. There's no capitalization. There's no spelling. There's no punctuation or anything. Another clone of Rob Nye I worked with. I think she was okay. Secret Space Program to USMC, US Marine Corps, SS. Linton, could you tell me what exactly you're talking about? Who you mean? Red Snapper says, "Oh, nice guys." A reply to Stefan Molyneux. Here we go. Here's a timestamp here. It's an unavoidable necessity. I think I'm one of those people. As you know, I've made a lot of enemies in my time. A lot of you watching this right now are enemies of mine. Okay. Do you consider Steve Mumbling an enemy? No. Steve Mumbling is pretty harmless. He disagrees. Sometimes he's annoying. Sometimes he can be a bit obnoxious. But no. And the troll, the enemies, these are people who hurl abuse at me. They're people who they spread evil rumors about me behind my back. They're people who try to dox me, try to contact my clients and tell them horrible things about me. They're people who tried to spread rumors that I was basically abusing children or abusing disabled people at the hospital, and other kind of lies. Steve Mumbling's never done anything like that, nothing near that. So no, Steve Mumbling's not an enemy. Okay, nice guys reply to Stefan Molyneux again. Red Snapper is going for this old video. I'm quite proud of this video, actually, I must say.
Not that we have to imagine him; he's here, but
Jeff Bezos, yeah. Rather sort of bald, scruffy bloke. A bit like me, about 20 years older and 1,000,000 times richer. Oh, right, yeah. Jeff Bezos was chosen by the spooks and bankers. That's how he was able to put other companies out of business, just like Musk and Zuckerberg. That's why other companies could not compete. It's the old corporate feudalism thing, isn't it, Red? Yeah. Musk, I think, Musk seems to be kind of like, he's broken out and he's fighting back. He's sort of leading a kind of anti-establishment beachhead within the business world. But Zuckerberg and the others, yeah, totally and utterly, they're part of the establishment, totally and utterly. Told you both so, Ben live stream. Right. Dark Corners UK. Was the mission a success? I read that the Bunker Buster missile has an effective range of approximately 200 meters underground, whereas Iran's deepest nuclear bunker is somewhere around 350 meters underground. Curious to hear your thoughts. Well, I think this Dark Corners, maybe you haven't watched all of it yet. This actually came up in the live stream. It's true that the Bunker Buster bombers can only penetrate 200 meters, but the detonation would have damaged the nuclear bunker if it was deeper through simply the shock waves of it all. However, according to the geology of the area, the Bunker Buster would have been pretty useless because it can only penetrate about 5 meters into the kind of rock above this missile city, as it was called. So it seems more and more this is looking like some kind of publicity stunt. The Iranians actually moved all the hardware out of these sites before they were struck, even before they were struck by Israel. No one was there. There were no casualties at all because these were completely evacuated, these areas. And even the hardware and the technology was moved as well. So makes you wonder what was going on. I mean, the aircraft all got back safely. The Iranians, as far as we know, didn't even attempt to attack the stealth bombers, even if they could spot them because they're designed to evade radar. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks over this whole thing, I reckon. Jungle Surfer. Fake as you get. Just a movie for emotional mind control. This is the Told You So Ben live stream. Jungle Surfer is talking, of course, about the Iran thing. Jungle also says, through the earth, what fantasy. Stop believing such mainstream media. It's all a hex. Yeah, through the earth, of course. The earth is flat, isn't it, Jungle? Yes. And what about Beatrice? What's she up to? Jungle says here, I told you about Trump being one of them. The T elite in 2015. You had no ears to listen. Spoken like a true backslapper, Jungle Surfer. Yeah. And yeah, at least I'm admitting I'm wrong. At least but the thing about it is, though, to be fair, you and I did discuss this at the time. And at the time, you know, I did debate with you. I was open to a discussion with you about the evidence. At the time, there was no sign of Trump being one of them, and indeed, I would say he wasn't one of them. He's been made one of them through blackmail or through threats. I wouldn't be surprised if they had Melania or the rest of the family as hostages. I wouldn't be surprised if they'd done that. So I think you were wrong back then. So this is not a told you so situation, Jungle. This is the fact that Trump has been compromised. Trump started off as a white hat and has been compromised. That's not the same thing as him always being one of them. It's not. Red Snapper says on Nice Guys, a reply to Stephen Molyneux, why don't you start like a shill squad and act like you're the bad boy of ufology? Could pull a few birds. Well, Red, I'm kind of doing that, aren't I? Well, I'm not a shill squad. I'm the backslapper squad. Nice Guys again, Red Snapper. Are you a Platonist, Ben? A Platonist? Is that someone who follows Plato? Let me just get the definition right of this. Platonist. From Platonism. A Platonist is someone who adheres to or is influenced by the philosophical doctrines of Plato, emphasizing the existence of abstract eternal forms or ideas that are ultimate sources of reality and knowledge. I wouldn't say I'm influenced or adhere. I think it's interesting, the allegory of the cave. I think that sort of thing is interesting. It's possibly a good metaphor for the workings of the universe. Yeah. And then events this week. Okay, this is a really old video, and Red Snapper says the HPANWO radio link no longer works. And I said it's an old video. I deleted it. This is simply a video I did actually advertising some events on HPANWO radio. And events this week. Do you have access? This is Red Snapper again. Do you have access to Kev Baker's original Serious Woo podcasts? Right, a few of them. In fact, I've got an archive. Let's have a look. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Now, other people have more of them. Now, his entire oeuvre is not available. But here, look, Ben, here we are. Ben Emlyn-Jones on the KBS archive. It's this page here. All the ones I did with him, I've downloaded. Well, all the ones, well, actually not all the ones. I've got about half the ones I did with him I've downloaded. And they're all here. And these are ones that are on his YouTube channel or were on TFR before it went behind a paywall. Okay, so there's quite a lot there on archive.org. So, and other people have more of them. Now, TFR still have them behind their paywall, which I don't know why. I mean, you'd think that because he died, they could just make them freebies. But last time I checked, they were still behind a paywall. But if you join TFR, you can get all of Kev's old shows, all of them, every single one of them. The thousands he did are all there on their archive. I think you can join TFR for a couple of quid a month. It's quite cheap. Right, Claire Ray Randall interview. Hey, is video still here? Could be the next one for retroactive algorithmic ban list. Oh, right. So this is because this is a bit politically incorrect. Yes, I must say, it's probably one of the most controversial subjects it's possible to talk about. So, just to warn you in advance, if this video disappears, yeah, I did actually consider making this an alt tech exclusive. Yeah, I did. Red Snapper on the same video. Do you remember Claire's interview with Lana Loktev on Radio 314? Why was it so infamous? Yeah, I do remember that. The reason it's so infamous is because this is the first time Claire admitted that she was transsexual. And to be honest, I didn't know she was. I thought she was what's it called, cis woman, as the phrase they use nowadays. Because she transitioned a long time ago. She's very feminine. And this got Lana a lot of criticism from people on the right. That is the right-wing political advocates who listened to her a lot. And they said, some of them said that we shouldn't have had her on because of that. And indeed, Millennial Woes was going to have her on as a guest on his Millennial. He cancelled her because of pressure from this same group of people. I actually disagree with that completely. Lana did as well. And I think it's a shame that Millennial Woes didn't actually stand up to them and just because, well, he suffers from terrible anxiety, and he tends to go into like fits of fear and anguish when he receives hostility from others. So he caved in. But Claire is very interesting. What she has to say is interesting. Who she is really irrelevant. Right, Red Snapper says on Claire Ray Randall, Lord Tebbit.
Such well-known figures as David Lammy and Lord Tebbit.
I'm surprised to hear David Lammy involved in this.
Yeah, well,
no surprise there.
He, I think, is as well. I mean, I mentioned this in my Arctos interview the other day.
All right. Do you remember the notorious Tebbit test regarding the cricket? No. Or I remember about Tebbit. He was very. What was he? He was considered to be very right wing. He was like a hardline Thatcherite. I don't know much more about him actually. I know he said to people, "Oh, well, yeah, when my dad was unemployed, he got on his bike and he went and got a job." Like, it's as I mean, this was during the early 1980s when there was a lot of very high unemployment in this country, and people found that insulting, and they're right to, because it's as if he's saying, "Well, all these millions of people who are out of work, was it 4 million at its peak? All they have to do is get on their bike and go to a job, and then suddenly all the unemployment problems would be solved." Which, of course, is disrespectful nonsense. It's an insult to all the people out of work who desperately want jobs and would do jobs if they could. And indeed, when the economy improved, they went and got jobs. So, I mean, how many people really don't want to work, especially men? It's very unusual for people, especially for men, not to want to earn your own living. It's undignified. It's emasculating not to want to earn your own living. So yeah, Tebbit. I never liked him. Red Snapper, do you punch right, Ben? Well, I mean, I consider myself outside the left-right spectrum. I criticize people on the left and the right, and so the answer to that is yes. I do sometimes punch right. Oh, I did. I've done it in this video. Do you remember me saying earlier on to who was it? I can't remember which one who talked about the Manzano concentration camp during World War II. And I said, now if I didn't punch right, I would say, yeah, lock them up the Japs, put them all in, put them all in under lock and key. It doesn't matter if they're American citizens and they were born in the US, they're still potential traitors. But I didn't say that. I think it was something shameful. It was an atrocity. It shouldn't have been done. So that's punching right. There you go. Claire Ray Randall interview. Fascinating interview. I'm still against this stuff in all its forms. That doesn't mean, however, all these types of people are bad. Well, thanks, Red. And you know what? Claire is actually against all this stuff in its forms. I mean, she does actually distinguish her own experience. And indeed, we did a follow-up interview where she talks more about that, about her own position and her own life and the trans culture. I mean, she's as a trans person herself, she is the harshest critic of trans culture you're ever likely to meet. 111. Regarding what DJ B2 was saying about the price of beer, this is Gary Robinson on 111. I was out with some friends the other day in central London and paid £38 for 3 drinks in a pub near Chinatown. Absolute rip-off. God, Gary, that's awful, man. That was even worse than the one we went to. Do you remember? It was like £24 for like 3 beers. Do you remember? Oh, so actually, there was only like 2 beers, and the others had like soft drinks. It's extortionate. Now we have now a thread, and London anti-geoengineering rally. How am I doing for time? Okay. First, says Neil, gold tinfoil hat to Neil. Peel, the Paranormal Peep Show. So excited, World War III, but being first is most pressing. Peace through strength, says David. Splendid isolation. Yes. Unity through faith. Love is what's it? Oh, you're going through this like the 1984. War is peace, freedom of slavery, ignorance is strength. Now, was it V for Vendetta? Strength through unity, unity through faith. Yeah. And Neil Peel says peace through humor. These people need to loosen up greatly. Yes. Everyone does, I think. Same video. The Crafty Nihilist. Brilliant day, Ben. Sharing on the socials as we speak. Thanks very much, Crafty. It was wonderful to see you and Gary and Neil. And it really, well, Neil wasn't there, but you and Gary, it really, really was. Thank you very much. And Neil says, looks like you all had a nice time. And good to you met our Gary. Yes, Neil and I have met with Gary in Reading, yes. And Crafty Nihilist says, yeah, it was great. And Gary is lovely. He is, isn't he? And Gary gives hearts there. So thank you very much, guys. That's true. It was wonderful to get together with you guys. I'm really glad I made this video. Right, so anti-geoengineering rally again. David says, out of interest, Ben, does your camera do 720p or do you film 720 and render in 480? Right. StreamYard always, it seems to be all 720p on StreamYard. That's the pixels. Now, when I edit, I try to edit in, I'll have to check the settings. It's actually, I don't know, I can't remember what the actual figures were, but I try to edit and process it in HD settings. Now, sometimes I have to reduce that. Otherwise, the file becomes too big to upload, but I try to make it as good a quality as possible. And like when I'm for the Alt Tech exclusive, what I'll do is I'll upload the raw edited processed file to YouTube as a draft video and then download it and upload that to Alt Tech. That's what I usually do. Or at least I try to upload or if I can, I'll upload the raw processed file, but usually it's too big. For BitChute goes up to 2 gigabytes and no larger. So I have to like compress it a little bit to get it onto BitChute. That's the Alt Tech annex. And the easiest way to do that is simply to upload it to YouTube as a draft, then download it before the algos spot it. There we go. So and then what's this now? Where am I now? Where am I now? All right. Oh, that's just Neil Peel says, I assume it's a 1080p, but YouTube render HD and SD versions plus phone formats. David says, aye, but Ben's Ben's video of this sort always max 480p. Are they really? Do they? I mean, that's the way it comes out on YouTube. And Neil says maybe, but it's been set all that within his settings to give his card greater memory. Well, the thing is, I do actually put it on long. It's essentially what they used to call long play. On my camera, I put it on that so I can get more footage onto there. I can actually get 8 hours onto my Sony camcorder. Of course, I could improve that if I wanted, but it would then only be 4 hours footage, in which case I'd need to take multiple chips with me when I went to the States to do Ben in the Desert, for example. Right, the anti-geoengineering. Tana Maxwin. Tana Maxwin says, Chur, good one, brother Ben. Cheers from NZ, Inman. Our yek feck, they've been trying that shit every day here too. Right, I'll try and interpret this as best as I can, but thank you. I gather that's a very a complimentary thing. Cheers, good one, brother Ben. Cheers from New Zealand, man. Oh yeah, fuck it, they've been trying that shit every day here too. Right, yeah, Tana. I mean, it's been doing all across the world, and the Antipodes are no exception. And now we have anti-geoengineering. Neil Peel, the Paranormal Peep Show, says here, good to see the Scooby Gang out in force, enjoying the Scooby snacks and drinks. Thanks. And Crafty Nihilist says, Mark is most definitely not Shaggy. He's got, well, I'm not, am I? Because of my hair. The rally, London rally again, Michael Snow. The Guardian, the Guardian. I take the mickey out of them terribly, don't I? Now, Jim Skin Pivot says here on geoengineering. Here we go. The media didn't cover it, Ben, because you were protesting to yourselves in an area commonly used for protests, which is neither disruptive of traffic nor close to the relevant government department concerned. If this has been going on covertly for decades in the UK, as you claim, please could you clarify this from HPANWO? Quote, there has been some heavy chemtrail seeding over Oxfordshire today, some of the worst I've ever seen, unquote. This is unambiguous and emphatic. So how did you determine those flights were covert when they were in plain sight and non-declared, non-commercial, not any flight tracker? Are you seriously suggesting that countless pilots are currently engaged in enthusiastically spraying chemicals on communities in flagrant breach of primary state statutes, licensing and reporting regulation, Health and Safety at Work Act and Food and Environment Protection Act? You made the claim, Ben, so Do you have material evidence of repeated major violations of law, which should be formally reported to the police as both criminal and malicious? Okay. As far as the media not covering it, you see the media, Jim, the media do cover protests in like areas of Hyde Park. So they don't have to be disruptive to traffic or close to the relevant department. In this case, we don't know what department it is. I mean, because the government haven't specified. This is something that's going through Parliament. And we could go to Parliament Square if we wanted. But I mean, we could if we wanted, but it's just easier to get to Hyde Park. As for the second bit, you do raise some issues, right? The fact is there are dedicated chemtrail fleets which don't appear on Flight Tracker and not registered on air traffic control in the same way military aircraft are not. But by far the majority of these chemtrail operations are using commercial aircraft. And I believe, and indeed Mona Norman has given some evidence for this, stating that it's likely that the reason some budget airlines have such low prices is because they are being subsidized by whoever is doing this to use for the aircraft to be used in these operations. Now, this Ralph Ellis mentioned it was very dubious about this. Ralph Ellis is a commercial airline pilot, and he said, "Well, look, come on, I never have this on my aircraft. It's he says it's just all it is. It's simply the condensation of basically hot air with a little bit of soot mixed up together, and it condenses to form clouds at high altitudes." Well, I've already been through why I don't think that's the case. But you see, what I think is happening, and indeed this was discussed in my book, Roswell Rising, a Novel of Disclosure, available at all good bookshops now, priced £10. I addressed this in the book, and indeed Sophia Smallstorm and Cliff Carnicom have covered this. What I believe is happening is these agents are being mixed with fuel. They've been mixed with jet fuel covertly before the fuel is actually delivered to the airport and therefore to the aircraft. That seems so no extra pieces of engineering have to be fitted to the plane. If you did that, then of course people would know. The pilots would spot it. The technicians, the guys who check the fuel levels and who tighten the bolts and do the maintenance and things like that. Yeah, and that doesn't happen. So it looks like it's something added to the fuel, and there's other reasons for thinking that as well. Right, Christmas live stream test. Red Snapper. We have near a timestamp.
I got an email from Miles saying Happy Christmas. So Happy Christmas to Miles.
This was 7 years ago.
I got an email from Michael Shrimpton wishing me Happy Christmas. Oh, I've composed. I've composed a Christmas carol for Michael Shrimpton. I've only got 2 lines so far. God rest ye, Jerry, mental men, let nothing you blow up. I'm not trying to think.
Oh God, yeah. I was just thinking, does Michael Shrimpton ever get hate speech charges for all his anti-German rhetoric? No, his imprisonment. What was he actually convicted of? Because he was in prison for a few months. Let's see, what was it? Michael Shrimpton. Oh, here we go. Let's just look at his Wikipedia here. All right, now what happened here? Michael Shrimpton, former English barrister and judge who's known for conspiracy theories. He was convicted in 2014 for falsely reporting that Germany was planning a nuclear attack on the 2012 Summer Olympics. He was convicted. Why is that a crime? Is it a crime to say, even if it's not true, then why can't people just say, well, it's not true, leave him alone? Oh, he's known to police forces across the United Kingdom as an intelligence nuisance. Shrimpton denies that he's mentally ill or a compulsive liar. His defense. All right, here we go. Shrimpton is noted for his claims for his role in the intelligence community and his the infiltration of German spies and saboteurs into British society. According to Shrimpton, Germany re-established its Nazi-era intelligence apparatus, the Deutsches Verdingungsdienst DVD, and has since used it to wreak economic and political chaos abroad. The DVD is supposedly responsible for assassinations, and there's a whole list of them here. Everything you can think of: Gandhi, Kennedy, the sinking of the Kursk submarine, Harold Wilson, Clement Attlee, Edward Heath. and it came out in his book Spy Hunter. I've read his book Spy Hunter. Actually, I've read some of it. I did skip some bits. Police and court officials have generally regarded Shrimpton's claims as grandiose conspiracy theories. But why? And a psychiatric, the 2014 bomb hoax trial. What do you mean bomb hoax? I mean, why is it a hoax to say these things? I mean, if it's a hoax for him to say that, I'm committing a hoax by even suggesting this might be true. Why did he go to jail? I'll have to look at that in more detail. But technically speaking, yes, you could say he got jail for hate speech against Germans. Yeah. Right, Red Snacker. I can't scroll backwards on your main video list for some reason on my mobile, so I can't listen to your old reply comments videos, which is weird. Nothing your way? No, it's my channel is working normally, Red. Maybe it's a problem with your phone. All right, what we have now, 9:14. This is on the Christmas live stream.
Well, I'm organising a new one, like another one like that, which is going to be called Dreaming Saucers.
Oh yes, that was my 2018 conference that I organised or tried to organise. Yeah, New Year's Eve live stream. Oh, I know what. I don't need to click the timestamp. Mark Devlin is a flat earther? No way. He is. Yes, he's a flathead. He is. I mean, this doesn't actually change my opinion of Mark. I still respect Mark Devlin. I still think he's a great guy. He's a really good activist and researcher and a dedicated, decent man. Unlike some people, I don't like immediately fly off the handle and start like spitting my dummy out when I meet someone who happens to be a flat earther. I just say they're wrong and leave it at that. Right, this is the London rally again. Tor Engen. Those who want to ban CO2 should refuse them to drink soda, beer or champagne. To ripe fruit also use CO2, so them should be refused to eat that. And many more things that must have CO2 to be produced. Right, I mean, you're slightly incoherent here, and if I was Molyneux, I'd go on a 10-minute rant about you, which I'm not Stefan Molyneux, though. But I get your point. Yeah, it's an important point that the carbon dioxide is everywhere. It's a natural part of the Earth's biosphere. It's actually essential for life, and if you took it away, everything on Earth would die. It is the bubbles you get in fizzy drinks, including soda, beer, champagne, is CO2. To ripe fruit, I don't know about ripe fruit. I know that when fruit goes rotten, it gives off methane. That's all I know. But yeah, so yeah, you can't ban. If you ban CO2, we all die. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know. London rally again. Nothing as it seems, says. It would enhance the fight against the stupidity of attempting to engineer the atmosphere if we weren't coming from a place based upon the false assumption that contrails are the presumable aerosols meant to alter the climate. Contrails are easily definable by that which is caused by the exhaust from jet engines at an altitude where the humidity and ambient temperature are sufficient to sustain them. Right. The thing is, like, if we weren't coming from based on false assumptions that contrails are the presumable aerosols. But the contrail, I mean, funnily enough, even mainstream scientists, I'm not sure I understand you precisely, nothing. The end meant to alter the climate. The contrails are not meant to alter the climate. Contrails are simply an exhaust product of aircraft, which is mostly water vapor. They disperse quickly because they appear in a parts of the atmosphere where clouds are not present. Clouds only form where clouds are meant to be, and if clouds form where clouds are not meant to be, or not, the conditions are not right, then they ain't clouds. But even the mainstream media are talking about jet cirrus now, about how it affects the Earth's albedo. There's that awful. Well, it was actually banned because it was so scientifically inaccurate. What was it called? And it was this BBC Horizon horror story. I can't remember what it's called now. It'll come to me in a minute. But it was banned. But anyway, contrails are easily definable. The contrails contrails form and then dissipate because the conditions aren't there to form clouds. Where there are conditions to form clouds, clouds will form naturally. If aircraft are leaving what looks like clouds, they ain't clouds. That's basically it. Paul Wills says on the rally, Thank you for this reportage, Ben. It looked a really good turnout. So glad you came out of this one unscathed and you didn't get yourself arrested. Oh, gosh, thanks, Paul. You know what? I hope that never happens again. I mean, the only reason I got arrested was because I refused to give my details. That's the only reason they arrested me, because I was in the kettling system and I didn't give my details. London Rally again, Paul Wills. Gender study professor's apron. Bag of shite. Yeah. I mean, the gender study professor's apron can be referred to either the pride flag or to the European Union flag. Both are, I've used them for both. London Rally Darren says, Ben, why is it almost every conference or march you go to, there's someone you've fallen out with? Are you the one who bears grudges easily? Always puzzled me how so many people don't like you. You come across as a likable, chilled bloke. Well, thanks, Darren. But the reason is, unfortunately, you know, there's a saying, a friend to all is a friend to none. I may be likable and chilled, but, you know, I am principled. I have standards. And therefore, inevitably, I'm going to come into conflict with other people. Because I'm not the kind of person, when I meet someone who challenges me or behaves in a way I don't like, I'm not the sort of person who just sort of like goes along to get along. It's the Libra in me. We're very stubborn. I mean, if I come across as likable and chill, that's because with people who are decent and kind to me, I'll be decent and kind to you, like you are, which I appreciate. Right, West Usk Lighthouse. Darren says here, Miles would make a good Doctor Who. He has that slightly mad professor look about him. Yeah, people said that about him, even when he was in that ridiculous Channel 5 thing. People calling him the new Doctor Who or the real Doctor Who. Yeah. Right, Mysticism, a second reply to Stephen Molyneux. I like this one. This is a good video. What's this here?
An emotional truth that stimulates thought.
Well, poetry is actually a very, very hard word to define. If you try doing it and you'll see what I mean. All right. Red Snap says poetry is a form of literary expression that uses rhythmic, imaginative, and often condensed language to evoke emotions, ideas, or experiences. It employs techniques like metaphor, imagery, and sound patterns, i.e. rhyme, meter, to create meaning and aesthetic impact, often exploring themes of beauty, truth, or human experience in a concentrated or lyrical way. Not anymore. Thanks, Grok. I knew that. I knew that's obviously. I was going to say ChatGPT, but it's Grok. Yeah. One of my English teachers at school actually said, she put it very well. She says the difference between prose and poetry is when you get one of these, when you get like dragon juice, for example. Okay. Prose is the dragon juice with water added. All right. But poetry is the concentrate without the water added. And I thought that was a pretty good metaphor. I thought it was quite well said. We're nearly at the end now of hour number 2. Good, please. We've still got quite a long way to go. Mysticism again, 42 minutes. It's a timestamp here. It's a derivative concept that came out of the idea of the straw man. A straw man argument, I mean, you often hear people say this is a straw man argument, is that you take when someone is making a point. All right, right, Red Snapper says, is Steve mumbling a straw or steel manner? I've seen him do both, actually. A steel man is the opposite of a straw man. Straw man is where you deliberately, selectively pick the weakest parts of your opponent's arguments and focus on them. The steel man is where you specifically select the strongest parts of the argument. Steve does both, actually, because he's actually, it wouldn't be fair to call him a straw manner, because he actually does tackle some issues that other skeptics won't. So definitely, I think he's both. Right, here we go. 5704. Who's this? Oh, please name her. Who? Already happening. Some police forces already consult with psychics. There was a psychic detective in Alaska, I believe, who was actually targeted by the local mafia because I can't name her because I can't remember her name. It's something I saw on TV years ago. But yeah, it's a very interesting program. Mysticism's second reply to Molly. Do you remember Genesis Porridge from Psychic TV? Genesis P. Orridge. No. Genesis P. Orridge. There was a TV show called Porridge about people in prison. 111 Dark Corners. Unfortunately, I have yet to be able to go back and rewatch any of Gareth's videos, even this long after his death. It still feels too raw. Oh,
dark corners. I'm sorry, mate. Yeah. I mean, I feel a pang whenever I listen to him. I do. I have watched a couple of the old ones from the archive just to remind you guys. I have an archive of. Here we go. I have an archive of the Mindset podcast. Here we go. The first. This is Mindset podcast first series on the poker, and there's the Mindset video archive, and then Mindset podcast second series archive as well. There you go. And there's about 200 different shows on there. I've listened to a few of them, but I do feel poignant whenever I read it. I do. Mysticism, Molly, Red Snapper. If you were offered two options, UFO disclosure or free energy disclosure, which one would you take? Red, that is a pointless question because the two go together intimately. You can't have one without the other. And I've sort of explained on a couple of my videos why that is. That's not a criticism of you. You might not have come onto those videos yet, but yeah, you cannot have one without the other. Mysticism, Red Snapper. Do you think NDEs are proof of heaven or different dimensions? Proof is a big word. To say that NDEs were proof of an afterlife of any description, I would have to completely eliminate, without any doubt at all, the materialistic explanation for NDEs. I can't do that completely. I think the materialistic explanations make no sense. They're very unlikely. The people who promote them are very often MBAers who are kind of straw clutching a bit. But if you accept the materialistic explanation, you have to accept all kinds of weird coincidences and strange eventualities and bootstrapped kind of like theories and theoretical models which don't really cohere with our experience of reality. But can I disprove it? No, I can't. So therefore, I cannot prove that NDEs make the afterlife real. What I would say is I think NDEs are an indicator that it's very likely that the afterlife is a real thing, and we do go on after our deaths. I think that's very likely. Can I prove it? No. Mysticism. Here we go. This is again. This is. I'm glad you like this video, Red, because I did. I really like this video. I was actually watching it the other day, just from my own amusement. Yeah. Steve, I've changed my. I did say in the comments reply video that I would. I'm not going to debate you, Steve, because we've done this. We did this debate, didn't we? On right. Okay. When is the solo Steve mumbling debate 1-1? Steve was outnumbered in the last debate, that he will claim. The problem is, in a sense, Steve mumbling and I are already debating in the format we do, in a sense, with his videos and my videos. I'm not sure it'd be very productive for us simply to get together and have like a one-on-one discussion. I'm not sure that would work. Would I be totally against it? No, not completely. I'll have to think about that, Red Snapper. Mysticism. Second time I've watched this, a seminal podcast. Thanks, mate. Well, I'm glad you. I'm glad you like it because I really enjoyed making this videos. I really did. I thought it was a great video. Red Snapper says this is the afterlife. A reply to Stefan Molyneux. You've been on record saying you're not an abductee. Do you wish you were or hope to be an abductee? No, Red. I wouldn't like to be one. The thing is, like, I've been on record saying I'm not an abductee, but since then, since 2014, I discovered that I have this thing in my arm, which I've talked about. I don't know how it got there, but based on most people's experience of alien abduction, I would not want that. No, I would not. If it happened to me inadvertently, I'd be curious, but I'm quite glad if it has happened to me. I'm quite glad I can't remember it. Right, the afterlife. Oh, this is a timestamp. Lol. What's this?
Mostly misrepresenting a huge swathe of humanity here, and I really need to think about this.
At all. So I'm sick and tired of this stuff. Stop trying to get meaning from bullshit. Stop trying to get purpose.
Oh right, yeah. This is the afterlife reply to second. I've done another one since then. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, and again, it's another timestamp.
And freaks and geeks, for God's sakes, stop air drumming. Stop staring at your lava lamps and listening to Moog synthesize.
Come on.
is in the dark.
Well, let
for
me show
God's
that
sake.
again.
Lava lamps and Moog synthesizers.
Let me show you that again. That was quite. Then I'll just show you. This is why he was laughing. Here we go.
And freaks and geeks, for God's sakes. Stop air drumming. Stop staring at your lava lamps and listening to Moog synthesize.
Come on.
Oh, I'm over. I'm
in
over.
the dark, for God's sake.
Lava lamps and Moog synthesizers, Stefan.
Okay.
Now you're showing your...
I'm 5 minutes over now. Goodness me. Okay, guys. That's the end of hour number 2. Sorry, hour and 5 minutes number 2. Okay, guys, here we go. Hour number 3. And then we're not... I've got a feeling this could go on to a 4th hour, actually. Geoengineering rally. We have nothing as it seems. I started with the question, Earth is obviously a living organism. Could it not therefore are tightly coupled in a dynamic system that regulates variables such as atmospheric composition, temperature, and ocean salinity? Of course, the Darwinians would be the skeptics, but the biosphere's ability to maintain homeostasis is a result of coevolutionary processes where organisms influence their environment and vice versa. That's a good question. Indeed, this is the basis of the Gaia, James Lovelock's Gaia book. He just postulated this. He says, well, the thing is, what's the word? Isolated biosphere on Earth. There's been several experiments on this. Steve Bannon was involved with one. Interestingly, they failed unless there's very tight controls of it. The actual gas levels and levels of other things within the biosphere has to be regulated very carefully, and they have to be altered artificially. Now, the Earth doesn't seem to need that. The Earth does these things automatically. Which comes from what? How does it do that? It's such a complicated system of biology. How on earth can it possibly do so? How could any living system actually self-regulate like that? And lab-based, that's a good question. James Lovelock postulates there is actually a consciousness to the Earth's biosphere. Lab-based, said underneath. So why have there been 5 biomass extinction event that resulted in extreme temperatures for 5 million years afterwards as a direct result of a tipping point of rising CO2 due to plant life collapsing, primarily the vast tropical rainforest dying, resulting in basically no minimal ability to absorb CO2 on the planet. No, the planet is not self-regulating. It's reactionary to events, on and off. It's proven by science and not woo-woo. All right. I think you're referring to the Permian mass extinction. This was where I think 90% of life died. And there's been a lot of people that try and speculated the causes for this. There was actually a good documentary about it. Permian mass extinction. Yeah. The Permian Triassic event. Right, this is interesting. Also known as the Great Dying. It's an extinction event that occurred about 251 million years ago on the boundary between the Permian and Triassic geologic periods. And with them, the Paleozoic and Mesozoic era. It's the most severe known extinction event. With 57% of biological families, 62% of genera, 81% of marine species. It's also the greatest known mass extinction of insects. There is evidence for 1 or 3 distinct pulses of extinction. Now, it says it's the scientific consensus is that the main cause of the extinction was the flood of basalt volcanic eruptions that created the Siberian traps, which resulted in sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, resulting in eunixia, oxygen-starved sulfurous oceans, elevated global temperatures, acidified oceans. Levels of CO2 rose from 400 parts per million to 2,500 parts per million. Yeah, that's right. So basically, yes, it was exactly as you say. Now, this doesn't, but lab-based, that doesn't disprove the Gaia hypothesis any more than if someone punches me in the face and I suffer a brain hemorrhage, right, and I collapse. That doesn't prove that I have no consciousness. So just because the life on Earth is a massive conscious being, which is possible, does not mean that when something bad happens to it, in this case, a massive hypervolcanic event, the Siberian traps, that it will not result in some kind of injury to the Earth's biosphere and the Earth's environment. So you haven't actually disproved all this. You haven't, so it doesn't. You haven't disproved the planet is not self-regulating, or you haven't disproved the planet is self-regulating. It's reacting to events, and as far as science goes, well, James Lovelock is a scientist. I don't like James Lovelock. He's a New World Order depopulator, but he may be right about this. Okay. Cynthia's Watch Party review first, says Darren. Well done, Darren. Gold tinfoil hat coming your way. Sorry, I just got to move a file. I've just downloaded the last file I did. I'm just going to move it to here. Don't mind me while I just quickly do this. I like to keep all my things. I need to keep these things in order and keep them up to date. Yeah, so there you go. And nothing's happening. Oh dear. No, there it is. Yeah, this is the Cynthia's Watch Party, which I've now completed. Crafty Nihilist says first, a thumbs up. Hi, Crafty. Nice one. I've got to just get that back. The timestamp back. Nice one, Crafty. Thanks very much. Much appreciated, guys. And now, Arts Channel says on Cynthia's review, Rabsy Nesbitt is an alien imposter. Could be. I mean, when you listen to possibility of aliens speaking, they certainly are alien languages are certainly more coherent than his drunken Glaswegian. That's for true. That's absolutely true. Oh, Rabsy Nesbitt is. You think he might want to be one of the blue bloods, do you? It's interesting, the blue blood, because they describe it as ink, not blood. But these aliens have blue in it. What do we call people of nobility? Blue bloods. Possibly reptilians are blue bloods. Interesting, that, isn't it? What an interesting little eventuality. What's happened to my microphone? Is it working? Yes, it is. Good. Okay. Yeah, but Gregor Fisher is a brilliant comedy actor. He really is. Gary Robinson says David Lynch, R.I.P., not John Lynch. Oh, well, like the man in the orthopedic shoes, I stand corrected. I said David Lynch, didn't I? Yeah. Oh, no, I said John Lynch. David Lynch, the director, has just died. That's right. Now, John Lynch is someone different. He's an actor from Northern Ireland. And he's actually been in a couple of really good things. He was in that Sliding Doors, which is like about parallel universes. John Lynch, Irish actor and novelist. There you go. Here he is. This is him. Oh, he's older now. God, he looks old. Of course he would be, wouldn't he? Duh. Here we go. Yeah, he would be bloody older. I see the films the best films I know him best for is when he's young, like Sliding Doors, The Secret Garden. Yeah, that's definitely. This is him. That's what he looks like now. But he was good. He's a good actor, actually. I quite like him. And he was in this thing called Chimera, where it says Sliding Doors. That's a bloody good film if you've never seen it. That would actually be a good watch party. It's very interesting. It's about parallel universes. Where is right, the filmography. Where's his TV? Here we go. This is another good thing, right? Chimera. If you've not seen that, do watch it. It's a science fiction horror which has John Lynch in it, and yeah, that is bloody good. That is really, really good. Full of meaning, full of information, shall we say? Yeah, John Lynch, David Lynch, two different people. Crafty says here on Cynthia's Watch Party review, I thought Gary was in an AA meeting, Ben, but it's been a few months since I've seen it. I do like the whole lot in one go quite often. Gary was in a AA meeting. He was, yeah, he was. But it starts off with him like that. Yes, Crafty, it does. But you've seen it. You've seen it. If you do like to watch it, I like to do the whole lot in one go quite often. Yeah, I mean, it starts off with him. He does start. The very first scene has him in an AA meeting talking about his past life. There's the flashback scene. It's interesting, actually. I didn't mention that it becomes quite obvious about the Reverend Green, because in the flashback scene, he's like dressed as a kind of hippie. He looks like kind of country bumpkin hippie type person. And of course, when you see him later on, I thought about this after I did the watch party. He's wearing a smart suit, indicating that he's being kind of compromised, shall we say. But yeah, and then he's sitting in this circle with these other addicts, and you can see he smiles as the idea comes into his head. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, oh right, this is a rogues gallery of climate change deniers. This is Red Snapper on London Rally. Yeah, that's what we are.
Here, the protest is over there. Unfortunately, it's not in the shade. They've chosen a spot out of the shade. We've got Mark doing like a Paul impression when he dresses a cowboy. Mark crafting knives. We've got Gary.
Yeah, that is a rogues gallery of climate change deniers. Yeah, I'm sure that's what Mark Linus would call us, and George Monbiot, Lord Monbiot, spindly little twit, as Alex Jones calls him. Same video, Red Snapper, who says here, 450. Here we go.
Film. It's like a railway movie. It's set on this train, and it's in like a future world. There's an ice age.
Yeah, that's that movie. Yeah, in 24, I forgot, it's Snowpiercer. Yes, Snowpiercer. This film in 2014, an attempt to stop climate change via stratospheric aerosol injection catastrophically backfires, creating a new ice age that destroys much of life on Earth. For 17 years, the remnants of humanity shelter in a state-of-the-art, self-sustaining circumnavigational train, the Snowpiercer, run by reclusive transportation magnate Wilford. The passengers on the train are segregated, with an elite in the extravagant front coaches and the poor crammed into the squalid tail compartments overseen by armed guards. That's interesting. I have to watch that. You know, it reminds me a little bit of that book, Iron Council by China Miéville, which is also about a train that just keeps running forever. Interesting, that, isn't it? Yeah. I have to watch that. Red Snapper says on geoengineering, could a solar storm bigger than the Carrington event bring down power grids today? Yes. I often say this on my space weather reports on HPANWO radio, that, you know, something like the Carrington event or bigger, which is perfectly possible, would have a devastating effect on the Earth's power grids. In fact, this has already happened on a small scale, in which there have been local power cuts where solar geomagnetic storms have occurred, which have lasted. I think northeastern United States and southern Canada had a massive one, where entire cities were like, the power was wiped out. This was a few years ago. It took like about 3 or 4 days to fix it. Now, if that happened on a global scale, you can imagine the chaos it would be caused. You can imagine the damage would be done. What would happen to the economy? What would happen to law and order? How long would it take? If it's an entire world that's affected, how long would that take? Right, 1643. All right, it's all right. This is Red Snapper on London Rally. I don't need to click this, but is Piers Corbyn your political hero? Piers is somebody I admire very much and respect very much. I think he's a good guy, and I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with his stance on everything, but I think he's a decent man who wants to do good, and he's very valuable. And for example, his position on that, especially his exposure of the climate change thing. Red Snapper, is the late Dave Dees your political hero, political artist? I think he's one of the greatest satirical artists of all time. And the word hero is a big thing, as it was with Piers Corbyn. He's someone I admire enormously. I think he's a brilliant satirical artist, and what he has produced. His tableaux are just like, they explain so much in visual form, which you don't get you can't necessarily explain in dialogue. It's just so in your face. It reminds me of like the Mere One mural in Brick Lane that was obliterated for being anti-Semitic, and some of the Banksy artwork and things like that. London Rally, good video, says Red Snapper. Thank you very much, Red. Much appreciated. 111, Lotus Fire. Hello. How are you, Lotus Fire? Ben, tuning in since making your acquaintance at Contact in the Desert. Me, day one, downstairs lounge table with my mom, lunch on last day, like your insults. Yes, I know who you are. I won't mention your name, but I know you sent me an email, which I'll get back to you soon. Yeah, Lotus Fire, thank you. It's good to meet you and your mum. It really was. I had a great time, and I'll reply to your email soon. UAP S28, UAPs, that's good. UAP 28 says on Theo's Watch Party review. I've been watching your other video, Ben and Terry 2. I absolutely adore Terry. She's a wonderful person. I can understand why you're not feeling yourself, Ben, after contacting the desert, leaving the US and having to say goodbye to everyone at CITD, and then having to say goodbye to the delectable Terry as well. Man, that must hurt. I can defo empathize with you, Ben. Oh, it really breaks my heart. Well, I won't go into details, UAPS, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ginskin Pivot says on St. Theo's Watch Party Review, why spend time on this piffle if you've met otherworldly creatures? How is it you don't do an occasional hour setting out how you know you're being sprayed with we're being sprayed with chemicals, or what is it that convinced you you had contact with aliens or hybrids? Is there evidence for this, Ben, or are you just making it up? All right, Jim, I'll answer your last questions first, then I'll come on to the first one. Okay, the second. Right, why don't I do an occasional hour setting out how I know about A, B, and C, aliens, chemtrails, etc.? Well, I have done. It's firstly, they're more than an hour, and they're not just occasional. It's what my entire channel is about. And if you go to my channel, you'll find very long, detailed treatises on these subjects and about what I think about them. And feel free to dispute what I say in those videos. Go ahead. You're very welcome to disagree with me, and I'll address this in the dialogue I'm having with you right now. I'm not just making it up. There is evidence for it. That's your last paragraph. Now, your first sentence is the most interesting. Why spend time on this piffle if you've met otherworldly creatures? In other words, why am I doing this St. Theos thing when there's aliens and UFOs and conspiracies and child abuse and things like that going on in the world? I've had this discussion with other people. In fact, a former friend of mine actually really attacked me almost and told me, basically, well, it was very passive aggressive. It wasn't rude, but they said to me, Ben, you need to disaffiliate from hospital portering. You need to, and this was the kind of person who was becoming very, very like dictatorial with me in the last couple of years that I knew them before I broke contact with them. But right, I am a former hospital porter, and like and I consider this is something very important to me. This is, I feel very strongly about this, like many sort of ex-military people do. And there's lots of ex-military people in the conspiracy sphere who talk about military issues as well as conspiratorial issues. I'm the same, except I talk about hospital portering issues. These things are often very separate from the conspiratorial world. In fact, I do make an effort to keep these things separate. The interesting thing about this particular film, that is The World's End, is the hospital portering and conspiratorial paranormal themes, you can't really separate them. But it's not piffle. I don't think things to do with hospital portering is piffle any more than I do conspiratorial things. So that's why I spend time on it. London Rally, Steve mumbling, complaining about sunlight dimming and then constantly saying you need to find some shade. Hilarious. Yeah. I know. Well, Steve, in Australia, maybe you don't realise this, right? In Australia, but we Brits, I know you're an ex-Brit, or you're a Brit you're an expat Brit, and probably been over there too long. We Brits who are not expats, we tend to shrivel in hot weather when it gets too hot. If it doesn't rain for like a couple of weeks, we're like plants. We sort of wilt because it doesn't rain. It's like. So I can see it appears to be a bit of a contradiction, doesn't it? Well, you complain about sunlight dimming, and then I don't want to stand in the sun because I'll get burned. Yeah, but the truth of the matter is we want there to be sunlight. We just don't want to sit in it and roast. That's all. Since Theo's Watch Party live stream, Neil Peel says, missed this, but we'll try to watch it now. Well, I hope you enjoy it, Neil. I hope you do. I really do. Red Snapper, reply to comments 13. Wow. Finally back to watching these. Oh, blimey, you're going to go through them all? You're going to go through 111 reply to comments videos? YouTube will not let me scroll back on your channel for some reason. Another bug is I post comments and sometimes they post on other channels. Really annoying. That is annoying, Red, and it's clearly some kind of bug. I mean, that's certainly not anything to do with my settings or anything I'm doing. Yeah. Reply to comments 14. Oh, we've got a timestamp here, so let's see what this is about. Or Great Britain, which do you prefer? But yeah, I mean, this time of year I don't wear
baseball cap when I'm out. I wear a woolly hat, so I don't really want to wear that on camera.
All right. Anyway, and he says here, this Peter Rob. All right, this what you say is completely different to the timestamp. Maybe you wrote the timestamp wrong. This Peter Robbins falling out happened ages ago. It happened around 2015, Red. It happened when the whole Larry Warren controversy broke out, and I've covered that in detail in various publications on all my different platforms. But basically Larry fell out. Larry started being attacked by people big time. A whole community of like anti-Larry Warren cultists rose up. Peter, who'd always been Larry's strongest defender in the past, ended up being seduced by the dark side, and unfortunately, yeah. And at the point, he unfriended me, and I decided I didn't want anything more to do with him either. So, but I mean, I sat politely and listened to his talk. I was sitting just a few weeks ago. I was sitting like 10 feet away from him, and I behaved myself perfectly. Chris Evers, if you're watching, that's what would have happened if you let me attend the first OLM conference. Right. Oh, so this is another timestamp on 14 by Red Snapper.
Look, says your hat says NYC, New York City. Johnny Shitcock and his nuclear-powered piss pot.
Yes, what a name. That's what it said. Johnny Shitcock and his nuclear-powered piss. Oh, we go 14 again. Here we go. Is a timestamp here by Red Snapper. There we go. What's it say?
He says, there's a book called Decoding the Human Body Field, another good medical book. Is that by Robert O. Becker?
Oh, right, no. It's right, no. I was thinking of The Body Electric. Yeah, that's a good book. Decoding the Human Body Field: The New Science of Information as Medicine book by Harry Massey and Joan Wilcox. Right, thank you very much, Red. I'm a big fan of Becker's book. Very interesting that was. Right, Red Snapper says on 14, are you a mystic? Do you identify with oneness? Yes, I think I am a mystic to a certain level. This doesn't mean I don't meditate. I don't take substances, shall we say, to enhance my spiritual visions. But I'm very interested in that subject, yes. Right, 1950. All right, oh, right, this is 14. I know what this is about, I think.
Colostrum does copy and paste jobs from Google, no deep research, no credibility. I think that's unfair. Nick Colostrum, and so I'm saying this as someone who's fallen out with him.
Oh, right, yeah. I did make up with Nick. I mean, the weird thing is, like, after he fell out with me over this joint mission we did to Truth Seekers Northeast, and then, and I just, it was one of these weird things. I bumped into him at Richard D. Hall's Kingston event, and he just started talking to me normally, like nothing had happened. This has happened several times with me. It's like the internet world and the real world are like two separate things. It's not always the same. Obviously, there are people like Peter Robbins and Alison Dunlop who I've fallen out with big time, and that fallout like spreads over into the real world, into real life. But many others, especially if it's something minor and not very significant,
that has improved.
Oh, it's another timestamp.
Right, insert pi.
So really, in the case of Alison and Peter, obviously it's something more serious, but sometimes it's something minor. For example, Deborah Hatswell I fell out with and made up with again, like Nick, because our falling out was over something quite trivial and not really very serious. So yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on how serious the fallout is. Yeah.
Now,
insert point. Yeah. All right. Yeah. This is another. This is sorry. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Red Snapper has made another comment on 14 about insert pi now, who's actually is a really he's a really yeah, I haven't commented for a while, but I do know him. Yeah. Red Snapper says from 14, have you read Triangular UFOs of the United Kingdom by Colin Saunders? I've not read it, but I've met the man. I've met him. Where is he? Let's see if I can find him. There's an interview I've done with him. Oh God, I think well, he appeared at OLM, and I never spoke to him, obviously, because obviously I didn't speak to him because I was in disguise. But here we go. Let's just see if I can find it. It's on my channel somewhere. Where is it? Here we go. No, where is it? Probe. Yeah, Probe 10 Colin. This is it, yeah.
Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity. Stop.
Oh, this nostalgia. This is from October 2009.
Welcome to HPANWO TV.
Here he is.
Daughter, members-in-law.
There he is. Look.
That was
the spaceship.
Since then, I've had all sorts of power.
That's his first spaceship model. Yeah. So I've not read his book, but I have interviewed the guy. So, yeah. So yeah, feel free to watch that. It's an interesting sort of thing. Channel page, yeah, that's it. That's right. Right, 14 is a lol here from Red Snapper. What's that here? 4238.
And you need to scale down your operations to cater for a few social mystics, a pathological liar, and an unemployed porter with delusions of intelligence. Oh, fuck off.
I think that might have been Steve mumbling. Right, we have here on Syntheo's 2025 Watch Party live stream, Linton again, Linton Ricketts, who says here, is Richard actually your bro, or is he the same species as Marmite Man? Richard who? And who is Marmite Man? Linton, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. You are a bit cryptic in your. I've noticed you. This is the first time I've actually come across you in my comments, and you are a very cryptic person. So could you please just clarify what you're talking about? Because I've got no idea. Okay, we go 108, 114. This is Red Snapper, of course.
Right, and now this is. I want an answer to this. Okay, can any of you help me? This is actually an appeal I'm putting out. It's to do with my film, The Invisibles. Somebody put a comment on The Invisibles, and then bloody deleted it. They said that there was an EVP in the video, an electronic voice phenomenon on the video. And they said they told me where it was. Now,
all right, no, that's not been solved. I can't actually. I'm not sure where that was. Okay, so now we have 14 again, Red Snapper. You're lapping up my old videos, mate. It's really cool. It's really great you're doing this, man. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Islam is not against a secular government, but only against oppression, tyranny, and violation of harmless people. God's given right. Well, this is clearly in reply to something Nick said in that video, and I don't remember what.
All right, great points, Ben. Actually, it's the opposite with Buddhism. It's seen as the peace religion, but has on occasion been adjusted for war. For example, the Japanese imperialism or Sri Lankans fighting the Tamils. Yeah, another good example is the Myanmar conflict, where the Rohingyas were the Rohingyas, which was one ethnicity, attacked the Buddhists. Rohingyas are an ethnic group where their religion is Islam, and they attacked the Buddhists, and the Buddhists actually fought back with force. There's other examples as well, and there's also the suicide of Ding Nak Tuk, or whatever he was called. I actually brought this up on my video with Ren Michaelis. Monk suicide. Right, suicide. Buddhist monk suicide Vietnam. Yes, Thich Quang Duc. Right, Thich Quang Duc was here. He is. This is this guy. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist. I won't show you the rest. It's actually got a picture of him burning, and I won't show you that. It's very gruesome. But he actually did in 1963, in June 1963, he decided to protest against the treatment of Buddhists by the Vietnamese regime. This was the South. This was the democratic South. Not that in those days Vietnam was partitioned between Ho Chi Minh in the north and the democratic South. And he decided to burn himself to death in the middle of what was then Saigon, today Ho Chi Minh City. And there's several photographs of him, but just sitting there burning. After he poured a flammable liquid over himself, and he just sat there meditating while he burned to death. This was his way of protesting. A bit like that guy that Rin and I talked about. He actually did the same thing outside the Israeli embassy to protest against how he saw it, the Israeli policy towards Palestine and Gaza. I've forgotten his name now, but he's a young chap, serving Air Force man, and he burned himself to death. I mean, if people want to make a point, I understand that, fair enough. Like the guy who climbed up Big Ben for Palestine and stuff like that. You can do this without killing yourself. I mean, please don't do this sort of thing. It's so sad, especially these people are often very young and very naive, and you can make your point without taking your own life in such a horrible way.
Doctor Who no longer regenerates; he transitions.
All right. Yes. There's a bit of the word transition means something different now, doesn't it? Yeah. 14, Red Snapper. Could you ever consider doing a different video for each comment you respond to? I have actually done some specialist videos which are specifically designed to address feedback. I have done. I mean, this, in a sense, the Steve mumbling ones are kind of that. But as for comments just posted on my channel in terms of text, if I did an entire video for each one, it would be a very long video, wouldn't it? Sorry, it wouldn't be long. It would be a very short video, but there'd be thousands of them. Right, 14 again, Red Snapper. And here's a timestamp.
Men have certain traits, but they're still individuals. Stop watching Eric. This is the guy. All right, this is the guy who wrote to me. Eric, stop watching Ben Emlyn-Jones's videos, and you will soon find a girlfriend.
All right, yeah, okay. She says here, you have to admit mentioning Bigfoot in Britain is a sure way of that first date being the last. Have you seen that meme? You know, I actually posted it on Facebook. You know, a guy driving home alone, thinking, well, and there's the caption is, "There's not going to be a second date, but at least she knows more about the New World Order and the banking system and the UFO cover-up." I've been there many times, man, many times. But you know, they say it's better to go on one date, only one date with the wrong woman, than just. It's better to go. It's better if you're with the wrong woman. It's better to just go on one date and no more. Hopefully, when you meet the right one, it'll be okay. Yeah. Right. So now Red Snapper says this podcast was huge. Nice one, Ben. Thanks very much. How long was this one? 14? Was it one? It's an early one, so it's probably quite long.
Yes, have certain traits, but they're still individuals.
4 hours 5 minutes. Yes, that's a long one. Yeah, and they get longer. Right? Is there any hope? Oh, I love this video. This is a really old one. Red Snapper says, "Wow, are we thinking of?" All right, hang on. There's a timestamp here.
I'm Stefan Molyneux. I know I keep coming back to him, don't I?
This is me when I'm all wrapped up. It was really cold. Look, this is me. One of my viewers actually saw this.
He did a show saying,
right, and bought me a thermal blanket to put over myself.
We have to pace ourselves emotionally because I mean, I know he doesn't agree with what I stand for, and I don't agree with everything he stands for, but he does say some things which are very wise sometimes. Also, the guy I'm going to talk about in a minute.
Right. Wow. Are you thinking that today, 7 years on? Stuff is far worse. I still think that. Yeah, I still think that we need to look after our own mental health, and that has to be a priority. We're no good. We're no good to anyone if we martyr ourselves to insanity, Red. So, like, be kind to yourself. Take time out. That's one of the reasons I do the hospital portering thing, I think. Or just go and watch football or something, or go and get a pizza. Talk to your friends about normal stuff. I mean, if you have any normie friends. The thing is, I don't have normie friends. I can't get on with them, and they can't get on with me. But if you do, if you're the kind of person who can fit into that world, then good for you. Lab Base says here on a London anti-geoengineering rally, a failure to understand that stratospheric geoengineering isn't chemtrails, 2207, which again are contrails to anyone else. No, they're not. They're not contrails to anyone else. But anyway, he carries on. Because those trails you see in the sky are below the stratosphere and too low to dim the sun whilst doing the opposite, acting as insulation, warming the atmosphere below by trapping warm air in the same manner as clouds. Any spraying in the stratosphere is far too high up to be observed from ground level. Sometimes some knowledge is worse than none at all, Ben. Even the helpful little picture in The Guardian showing fluffy clouds in the troposphere below the stratosphere should have been the helpful hint. Yes, contrails can do increase global warming. This has been known for some time. Yes, there are studies, and yes, it shows only 3% of air traffic accounts for all the contrails you see due to flight paths flight paths, something easily remedied if there is political will to change all flight paths with a subsequent increase in ticket prices and costs due to extra fuel consumption to change altitude and stop them forming. Okay. Firstly, you're wrong about the factual nature of chemtrails, as I've explained. Indeed, I've covered this in several videos. Chemtrails and contrails are two separate things. As for the altitude, okay, technically you're correct. When people say stratospheric, then yes, I know the stratosphere is above the troposphere, and like 30 to 30,000 to 35,000 feet, where most of the airline cruising altitudes are, that's not the stratosphere. I get it, but you're actually wrong about this. What you say next, you are actually wrong about. Clouds do trap warm air. That's correct, and especially at night time, they trap warm air, which is why in the desert it often gets very cold at night because there's no clouds to stop the heat escaping. You even get frost, like in the Sahara. But I mean, actually, the program is global dimming. It's BBC Horizon Global Dimming. It was banned actually by the BBC for being hysterically horrific and scientifically inaccurate. But there are some realities in it, and this is one of them. Tropospheric low-level clouds, cumulus, etc., can actually act as a reflector of sunlight, and it increases the Earth's albedo. That actually is the case. It even says so in this particular video. So yeah, I get that bit. What was your next point? And yeah, the global dimming thing actually says this very thing about contrails. But the thing is that it doesn't understand. It doesn't make the point that I've often made, is that not all contrails are contrails. It thinks that everything what they call jet cirrus is just normal condensation and artificial clouds caused by jet traffic, which is not. Yeah. Right. Red Snapper says, heavy Ben, how close were you to, I won't say the word at this point, in other words, ending my existence in this world? At this point, I wasn't. There was a time when I was a teenager and when I was very young, I felt so depressed that I did think there's no point in living anymore. And I'm glad I carried on living. Yeah, definitely. Thanks very much for yeah. So I was all right, but that's it. That's on. Is there any hope? And that's by Red Snapper. Red Snapper says here, nice hat, timestamp. All right, what's this? Let's have a look, shall we? Let's have a look at what he says here. Here's the timestamp. What's this?
What does pride?
Oh right, yes, that's the hat bought for me by Sophie the Porter's poet. Yeah, she bought me that especially. Yeah. All right, 119. Okay. This is on reply to comments 15 by Red Snapper.
Portal on so you've just gone through the posts with a BS. Thank you for comment. It will be answered. Blah blah blah. Answer the fucking posts. I do not want to watch you at your computer rattling on for hours to your idiot fans about UFOs and so forth, only to find out that you cannot answer my points. You are a corpulent coward. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? I hope I get better comments on that from other people. All right, well, I just answered. I've replied. Thank you for your comment. It will be answered approximately within the first half-hour period of the upcoming comments reply video. So up yours, John. Okay, stop. You don't have to watch. You don't have to go through the entire.
Yeah, he just. Well, if he's like that, he doesn't have to. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to watch. He doesn't have to watch any of it, does he? Yeah, he insulted both of us. He did, Red Snapper, because he insults my viewers as well as me. Yeah, I mean, John, whoever this John is, I can't remember. This was years ago. This was reply to comments 15. But, you know, go and watch The Price is Right, as David Icke said. Right, then we have reply to comments 15. 2350 times stamped by Red Snapper.
Organisation of the population thing, the Kalergi plan. This is not to blame any individual. I live with 2 Sudanese men.
Right, yeah, oh, right, yes. Wow, do the 2 Sudanese men get angry with you for that opinion? All right, you're talking about Ahmed and Hassan. I don't talk to them about this stuff. They just live with me. They're just guys who live with me. We're not friends, really. We get on okay. That's it. Reply to comments 15, Red Snapper. Here we go. It's good you're doing this, because you've reminded me of some stuff that I've forgotten. I wouldn't never know where to find it. So this is
on my DVDs on my shelf video. I'd love to make them. I'd love them to make a 3rd series of I'm Alan Partridge. I would too, because I love Alan Partridge. Oh yes. Hospital Porters Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order. Oh, he's cool, yeah.
Oh yeah, yes. And Red Snapper says, was I Am Alan Partridge your most favourite ever comedy show? It's certainly up there. It's right up there with the. It is right up there in the top 5, probably. I think it's brilliant. I think Steve Coogan is hilarious. He really is. Jim Skin Pivot says on, is Paul McCartney dead? Rhetorical question in the title. And he says, yeah, Collestrom's as mad as a box of frogs. Another example of how you don't need evidence to promote a theory, which apparently sees long-term wholesale criminality approved by family members he says were involved, but who he conveniently failed to interview. Well, the thing is that, like, if you try approaching like Ringo Starr, and he's the only one left now. Well, you know, people have tried this. They've tried talking to Ringo about it. They tried talking to George Harrison about it. And they wouldn't discuss it. So what are you supposed to do if they won't talk about it? You just got to go by the evidence that you have. Jen continues. Hopefully you've now binned this bollocks, Ben, or has some primary source evidence emerged showing Paul McCartney died and criminal identity theft the police aren't interested took over. That simply requires a yes and a qualification, or a no, Ben, not a cop-out referral. When do I ever do cop-out referrals, Jin Skin Pivot? Never. The answer is yes, and the qualification is yes, there has been more evidence that's come to light. Nick's book is very interesting, but also I should add that the evidence I've gathered on HPANWO radio. I mean, in fact, look, let me just show you something. Let me show you something, all right? Here's your qualification. Let me just get it here. Let me just go here. Right, where is it? Here we go. Here's your qualification. It's my Paul McCartney portal. It's all on here, including all these, Shirley Bolstock, Anne Walsh, Paul McCartney Roundtable, Stephen Dickinson, that's Paul McCartney's son, and all these other things. Okay, so there's your qualification. Just check that out. So that's not a cop-out referral. Red Snapper, do you still write for UFO Truth magazine? Yes, I do. Every 2 months, an article in my column comes out. I like it, actually. It's a good. I enjoy doing the articles. It's a very high-quality publication, and I really get into some really good stuff there. Thanks, Red Snapper. Red Snapper says also on 15. Right, here we go. There's another timestamp.
3. Reader's Digest Encyclopedia of the Paranormal. There's some people outside.
All right. Wow, what was happening there? Right, I don't know, but there was someone was walking past my window, laughing. All right. Red Snapper, is Red Dwarf your favourite ever comedy? Would you support a woke reboot? Right. The answer to the first one is it's one of the best. Red Dwarf again. It's up there in the top 5 along with Bottom. I'm Alan Partridge, and there's the goodies. Yeah, but would I support a woke reboot? Is the Pope Jewish? I don't think they'd ever do that. I mean, really, I think Red Dwarf is one of the few comedy stroke sci-fi franchises left, untouched by the woke agenda. I mean, there's hardly any. There's almost no others left I can think of. And I think they've probably got more sense than to try it. I mean, the fact that the series is kind of in mothballs right now is probably a good thing. If they tried to do another one now, it probably would be bloody woke. I'd be horrified, as I am with all the other franchises that have been wokeified. Right, reply to comments 15. And this is Red Snapper again, timestamp.
Julian Carver says on the Roswell video, I've just watched Mumbling's other videos on his channel. He admits he was once a skywatcher. However, he never once saw anything unusual.
All right, yeah. Wow, Steve Mumbling, a skywatcher. Pigs might grow wings. Yeah, Steve Mumbling claims he used to know Peter Paget. That during the Warminster thing, he was actually living in England and he met Peter Paget. This would have been in like the mid-1960s. Steve must have been quite young then. But he claims he knew Peter Paget. Red Snapper, do you believe the Nazis went to the moon? I don't know specifically. I mean, there's a series of comedies called Iron Skies, which is quite sort of funny. I believe it seems inconceivable they would invent what they did in terms of the beehive and the bell and not use them to explore space. I can't imagine them not doing that. They may have even gone there after the war. What happened with Iron Skies? Because Iron Skies was quite funny. Iron Sky, yeah. 2012 film, yeah. Iron Sky. It's a 2012 comic science fiction action film. It tells the story of a group of German Nazis who, having been defeated in 1914, fled to the moon. Because here we go. This is the Nazi flying saucer thing. Yeah. I think Foo Fighters were ET. They were not, and so were the Ghost Rockets. But they did develop anti-gravity craft towards the end of the war. In the Wenceslas mine, along with SS General Hans Kammler, who disappeared at the end of the war. I've done entire videos on that. Okay. Right, here we go on reply to comments 15. Were Miles... Right, here we go. All right.
Miles by making this video. I'm not trying to help Miles. I'm trying to dispel things said against me. There are people, myself included, that aren't aware of these allegations against Miles and who are now watching this video may look differently towards him. Just a thought.
All right, right. This was a time a few years ago when Miles Johnston was accused of raping a woman. He actually made a made a couple of videos about it. Now, he was interviewed 3 times by the police, and then they proceeded no further action against him. And of course, in my view, Miles should have just said nothing about it. They never charged him. He was simply interviewed 3 times and then let go. He should have said nothing about it because there was no need for him to say anything about it when there was no charges apparent. And we all know exactly. I couldn't help feeling when he actually spoke publicly about the fact he'd had this accusation made against him, that he was essentially lowering the drawbridge. Because I knew, and maybe there's a part of it, I can't believe he didn't know what the trolls would do with this. That the trolls would immediately turn this into a stick to beat him with. The trolls would immediately interpret this as Miles is guilty. They would just basically take the extreme feminist line, which is a white male cannot be innocent of rape. And he should have just kept his mouth shut. I wouldn't have said it. I'd have kept those of us who knew this had happened to him would never have revealed it. And then it would just blown over. He would have been NFA'd, and that would be the end of it. Reply to comments 15, Red Snapper. It seems there was a massive troll event around this time. I'll have to go back and watch the video when you attempt to meet one of the droid crowd. Oh, yes. Please do. I'm very proud of that one. Right. This is a timestamp here. Right. On 15 by Red Snapper, of course.
Demographic for crimes such as this. And secondly, Ian Huntley was a patsy.
Right, yeah. Ian Huntley, a patsy. Please, more on that. Okay, this is to do with the Soham murders. In a nutshell, 2 young girls were murdered in a place called Soham in Cambridgeshire, and a man called Ian Huntley was he convicted? I don't know what happened with that. Hang on. Let's have a look at the details. Yeah. This was a double child murder committed in Soham, Cambridgeshire in 2002. Holly Wells, Jessica Chapman were lured to the home of a local resident, that is Ian Huntley, who then murdered them and dumped their bodies in an irrigation ditch by RAF Lakenheath in Suffolk. Right, yeah. Now, Richard, you actually have to watch an episode of Rich Planet to this, okay? Of Rich Planet TV, because I did discuss this. It was actually my interview with Richard. There was a man at RAF Lakenheath, an American US Air Force serviceman, who several years later was convicted of murdering a young girl on Okinawa, one of the islands in Japan, and is currently in prison. Now, he was actually there at the time, and there's a theory going around that this man murdered the 2 girls, Holly and Jessica. And this was a time, if you remember, 2002, this was a time when the Blair regime was trying to gear the public opinion up to supporting an invasion of Iraq with the American military. At that time, it was considered too politically embarrassing for it to be admitted that a US serviceman deployed to British soil on an American base in the UK committed a horrific crime against 2 young British citizens. Blair decided that they just couldn't say that because it would affect the propaganda he was giving us to try and get us into war. As a result, they set up a man. It's the usual personality profile, a local man of no real importance, low IQ, with a bit of history, let's say. I mean, Ian Huntley did have a record actually for comparatively minor offences against children. I think he downloaded kiddie porn or something like that. And he was the perfect patsy. He was the perfect person to set up, just like Lee Harvey Oswald, just like Martin Bryant, just like Sirhan Sirhan. It's the usual thing. And they basically said, well, let him take the rap. And then, we don't have this embarrassing situation. That's the theory. I don't know how true it was. It was a long time ago. I discussed this with Richard on Rich Planet. I mean, we can look it up. But anyway, there is a man who was in Lakenheath at that time, and he's currently in jail for killing a girl in Okinawa, Japan. Right, that was Theo's live stream. Tor Engen. Hello, Tor. How are you, sir? I found the Japanese alien invasion movie. It was Warning from Space, 1956. Right, I've not seen that. I'm not seeing warning from space. All right. Helen Duncan, the most dangerous psychic in the world. Oh, right. This is one of my most popular videos, actually. It's had about over 1 million views. Members of my family attended a seance with Helen Duncan in the early 1950s. All I can say is that they recognized my grandparents 100% who came through. While growing up, I often heard the details of that event in London and how it proved that life goes on after we die. Someone said, look around the room and everything you can see was made by somebody. Somebody made us. Thank you, David. Thanks for that information. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I know several other people. I've been in touch with members of Helen's family. Helen's granddaughter, Margaret Hahn, is a good friend of mine. Absolutely, yeah. British Cryptid says on Bigfoot in Britain. Ah, hello. I actually subscribe to you. Yeah. Hi, Ben. Very interesting. There is more information about the British Bigfoot or woodwoes that inhabits a forest in the English Midlands here. Right. Is this Debbie Hatswell? Is this Deborah Hatswell's video? Let's have a look.
To the general public, some of whom have been helping search the chase for many hours. I'm sorry, Inspector. We just went to that noise too early.
Well, it sounds like a bloody ghost in the background. Well, this is interesting. I don't have time to watch all this now, but it says British. Oh, I am subscribed to you. Yeah, British Cryptids, the Woodwoes of Cannock Chase. Yeah, Deborah Hatswell has been. I've just completed recording an interview with Deborah Hatswell, actually, which is going to be on Neil Peel's channel. But thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Right, reply to comments 15. Marathon, good reply to comments. Thanks. Yeah, that one's over 5 hours long. This one, the one I'm on now, actually might. It looks like it's going to cross 3 hours, but it may not be. I don't think it's going to be much longer than that. Reply to comment 16. Was Wakanda and Black Panther 2 your favorite films? Was Black Panther and Wakanda Forever 2 of your favorite films? All right. Neither was. No. The original Black Panther film was not bad, actually. The second one was horrific. It was awful. All right. Reply to comment 16. All right, it says still here, and there's a timestamp. What's this? Let's have a look. Let's have a look here.
Will do, Edwardian lady. That's right. Because basically, I put all my content on BitChute as well now. Because YouTube is going to get rid of me at some point. It's going to spit me out.
All right. Still here. Yeah, I'm still here on YouTube, Red Snapper. That's actually quite poignant what you've just brought up, because Edwardian lady has died. It's very, very sad. I got to know who she was in real life, and she's died. And she was a really nice lady, and I just wish I'd met her. I never met her, and I wish I had. Red Snapper says, "I've worked at Porton Down, Ben. Have you? All right. What were you up to, Red Snapper? What were you brewing the new hybrid DNA for the PGLFs? Let me know." Red Snapper says on reply to comment 16, "Are Tangerine Dream your favorite band? A favorite band of yours?" Tangerine Dream, I'd say they're pretty good. They're a great 80s synth band. There were several really good ones that came out of Germany, like Trio, Kraftwerk, Landscape, and Tangerine Dream was one of those. It was part of the German synth wave, you know. Reply to comment 16. Was Charlie Veitch compromised from the beginning? All right. This is a good question, Red Snapper, because Charlie, as you know, did a big U-turn in 2011 when he was on that ridiculous BBC documentary, the one they wanted me to be on, and I told him to fuck off. With the series, I was supposed to be on the series, not that particular episode, but I was going to be on the UFO one or the 771. I told him to shove it, and I'm glad. Since then, he has again changed his position several times. What he's currently doing right now is he's currently sort of in the kind of counter-jihad, patriot sort of side of things, pro-Israel, and this is where his position right now. Unfortunately, I've become very cynical about Charlie. I think he's doing these things because he knows he can get the content he wants for his channel. So by taking the Israeli side in the conflict with Palestine, he can get more content, because the Palestinian protesters are so much more volatile than the Israeli ones. This is why he used to defend beggars from the police. Like when the police were rounding them up, he used to stand up for the beggars in Manchester. Now he calls them crackheads, and he is essentially on the side of the authorities against them. The reason being because he wants content for his channel, And these people he calls crackheads, they have no real self-control. So all he has to do is go and provoke them, and they immediately rise up and give him the drama that he wants. The problem is with Charlie and auditing in general, and Charlie kind of invented auditing, is that it's become a victim of its own success. Or in the old days when auditing started, it was very easy to get the police to sort of like respond in the way you wanted, or break their normal codes of practice because the auditors essentially hadn't yet exposed them. Then when the police sort of fell into line, when they got used to the auditors and became accustomed to them, the auditors went on to private security and things like that. Now they're getting wise to the auditors. So what do the dedicated auditors do? What do they do? They have to go and start antagonizing people who have less self-control and who are less professional, which is Palestinian protesters and homeless drug addicts. And that's they kind of stoop to their nadir now. The fact that auditing is a victim of its own success proves this, because the fact all the old auditors from the 2000s and the 2010s, they're now just going around the town, poking and prodding the homeless people and the Palestinian activists. And Charlie is the prime example. The original auditor is the ultimate expression of this dissent. Was he compromised from the beginning? I don't know. Whether he started, because when he was a conspiracy theorist, I don't know. I mean, did he spend all those years? I mean, he was active for 5 or 6 years before his big mea culpa in 2011. Was he just pretending to be a conspiracy theorist? I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask him or look inside his mind, which can't be done. Red Snapper says on reply to comment 16, and here is a timestamp.
The world to watch endless cat videos and gardening videos and holiday vlogs.
Yeah. 7 years later on YouTube, still here. Yeah, by a miracle. I'm still here. Yeah, touch wood. Right, here we go now with another one.
I thought he was making a mountain out of a molehill, but now I see just how serious it is.
Right, what was OnStella? Right, OnStella was a social media network created by it was by Steve Mera and his colleagues, it was like a Facebook for woo-woos. Unfortunately, it eventually disappeared, which is very sad because I loved it. He said, "What was OnStella? What happened to it? I could not find the video you said you were going to do." I'm not sure. I mean, I was going to do something. What was it? Let me just go back to that timestamp and listen to more of it. OnStella, though, was a project that I loved, which unfortunately floundered.
Making a mountain out of a molehill, but now I see just how serious it is. When YouTube removed Richie Allen's channel, for example, yeah, I was shocked. This is very serious indeed. However, OnStella is only a few months away from fully launching, so we are saved. That's absolutely true, Mark. Now, I've mentioned OnStella yet, have I? That's coming up. I'll do a future video about that.
Right? Yeah, I never did a video about OnStella, but I did mention OnStella in the video called, which you may have seen it. It's quite a recent video. It's called a streetcar named Stargate. I mentioned it there. Now, yeah, if you may have noticed, actually, in my credits at the end of my videos, I still have my OnStella URL there in my social media link tree. It's kind of a memorial to. It is a memorial to that wonderful social media network, and I wish it would come back. I really do. Right? Did you ever get an advance on your pension? All right, there's a timestamp here. I won't click. I don't want to say actually, Red Snapper. It's a work in progress, but I know I'm not going to click the timestamp because I did talk about maybe getting some of my pension early. I'm still looking into that because, quite frankly, I don't think if I don't apply to get my pension early, I ain't going to get it ever. All right, slander, says Red Snapper on 16. What's this?
Yes. British. All right. You're not a hospital porter. You were sacked for being a sexual deviant, parading as a hospital porter when in reality you should be a patient in a hospital. Right. Comment removed.
Yeah, that is slander, and I don't know who the person was. Obviously, they're completely anonymous, and they've never come up to me and said those things to my face, like all trolls do. They haven't got the guts. Yeah, it's probably one of the droid trolls. And as you know, if you watch my confronting droid video, they were too shit scared to confront me.
Williams, are you? Or his Russian cousin? Oh, it's his spam. So it's just a piece of spam. I'll delete that.
All right. Red Snapper's asking what the noise is in the background. That's Liberace, Alan, playing his piano. Right. Reply to comment 16. What's this? Okay.
Well, all right. Well, I haven't heard about Nixon and the time capsule. The other things I'm familiar with, Nibiru is not coming. That's something where you're completely right. Nibiru is a load of crap. Okay. I've done an entire video about that.
I did, yeah. I did a video about
here we go. Now, Steve Mumbling and Diego Rivera get into an argument. Blah, blah, blah.
All right. She says here, weren't you on the Planet X train at one point? Yeah, I had a Planet X radio was really, really good. I had a show on there which I really liked. Yeah. Oh, and the Nixon time capsule. I've never heard of the Nixon and the time capsule either. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Sorry, Red. Nixon time capsule. I know Nixon usually refers to Richard M. Nixon, the President of the United States. Yeah. Rick Horden says on new interstellar object live stream. First, also gold cup for the thumbnail. Oh yeah, I love that. That was a good thumbnail, wasn't it? You may notice my T-shirt is different in it because I actually captured the thumbnail before I went off to Awake and Aware. And Rick Horden, so thanks, so well done. Gold tinfoil hat to you, Rick Horden. There was a good energy about this live stream. Nice one. Thank you very much, Rick. I'm glad you liked it. And Serastium says here, yeah, on a lot of streams, the comments come so fast you can't keep up with them, and then neither can the host. Or the opposite, too slow and empty. This one was just about right. Thanks, Serastia. Much appreciated. I know you were there in the live chat. Saved to save, says here on New Interstellar Object live stream. Oh, lovely to wake up back in my feed. I will give myself a happy day now. I've been literally gagging on all the doom cults. Well, safe to say thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it. Cornish Truth Seeker says here on you're not James Casbolt, are you? Probably not. On New Interstellar Object live stream. Why did Ben not read out the message regarding Capel Green, the film? I thought when questions are asked, Ben would reply, but he seems to be very selective. I actually was a bit annoyed by this because I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I said here, what message? When did you send it and how? Because I don't remember that coming up in the live stream, Cornish Truth Seeker. But please feel free to put it in as a comment now, and I'll reply to it in the next Reply to Comments video. Jack Parker says in New Interstellar Object live stream. How am I doing for time? Oh, I'm over. Right. Okay. Jack says, starting this video, do I need to duck when it comes by? Jack Parker, seeing as it's going to pass about 1.5 times the distance from the sun to the Earth when it comes to its closest point of approach, I don't think you have to worry. All right, guys, we're on the 4th hour now. Blimey, we are getting to the end of it. It's not going to go to 5, but yeah, this is going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one. Jack Parker says, Oumuamua outgassing? No, he just hit the gas. Oh, right. Well, it did kind of, didn't it? If you think about Oumuamua actually did accelerate with a strict scientific definition of that word, which just means it doesn't mean necessarily to get faster. It just means to change your velocity. Oumuamua's velocity changed, and that's inexplicable except by what Avi Loeb said. Scowling Wolf says on New Interstellar Object live stream, oh, it's just a series of emojis that look like kind of octopus things. 16, reply to comments 16, Red Snapper. Good reply to comments. A long one, by the way. Is dreaming saucer still a thing, or was it a failed enterprise? Well, the first one wasn't. The first one went quite well. It was reasonably successful. I never did another one, though. Never did another. Reply to comments 17, 1400. Yeah, there we go.
Who's a black man? He's good. I like Sotomayor. He's like
okay. It's now just Silk. All right, I'm referring to Diamond and Silk. Yeah, I was referring to like black people who were supposed white supremacists. Yeah. Diamond died. Yes, she did. They're two Swiss sisters, Diamond and Silk. They were known as. I can't remember what their real names were. I did look up at one point. It's very sad, but yeah, Diamond did die, so now it's just Silk. But Silk does her own. She does her own thing. This is reply to comment 17, by the way. She does her own solo broadcast now. Reply to comment 17. Here we go.
I'll answer your points. Okay. Ben also claims he's an alien. All right, now.
Right. Are you an alien, Ben? Says Red Snapper. You're right. This refers to something I said when I was in Birmingham once. I said I felt like an alien. This was after a particularly unpleasant experience, where I began to think to myself, well, maybe I'm an alien trapped in a human body, because the behavior of my fellow humans really doesn't match anything I could possibly understand in terms of my own behavior, my own desires or wants. Right, another timestamp on reply to comment 17 by Red Snapper.
There is stuff in the Bible, actually, Carl, about...
All right, yeah. Does the book of Ezekiel prove the existence of UFOs? Again, proof is a big word, and no, it doesn't. But it does appear, if you read it through the lens of a modern secular investigator, it sounds to me like someone describing a UFO encounter. Right, reply to comment 17. What was the criminal accusation against Dr. Jonathan Reed? Oh, right, Dr. Jonathan Reed. Oh, he's so controversial.
Yeah, WF about Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm not going to repeat what I've said about Dr. Jonathan Reed before. I've already deleted one of your posts because you make a criminal allegation against him.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but Reed, as far as I know, has never been convicted of any criminal accusation. He's been convicted, he's been accused of fraud. Let's just have a look. Dr. Jonathan Reed. I mean, there's not much. What's left of him? Reed case, Alien Wiki fandom, serious high-res image, child. Oh, right, here we go. Here we go. Here's Dr. Jonathan Reed. This is his like Association of Child Psychologists in Private Practice, which is what he did. There's not a lot about him apart from the videos which were made a long time ago, almost 30 years almost now. As far as I know, someone actually posted a comment accusing him of committing a crime, which he's never done, so I deleted the comment, yeah. Red Snapper replied to comment 17. Would you ever consider switching your channel to Premier League football? You could get AdSense and way more views. Oh, no. There's so many things I could do. I could be like Charlie Veach and just do whatever I needed to do to get attention and views and things like that. And of course through drama and auditing and stuff like that. And I do think that's what Charlie's doing. I'm sorry, I feel very cynical about Charlie. But you know, it would be impossible. I'd go crazy. I would go out of my mind if I did that. I mean, it would be like I'd have to put on an act. I have to put on an act and pretend to be what I'm not. Pretend to be somebody I'm not. And I've tried doing that, and it's awful. I feel horrible at the end of it. I've been on dates with women, and I'm like trying to act like a certain person and thinking if I do this, you know, it'd be nice because I'll have a girlfriend. And then it's just, I suddenly realized by having this girlfriend, I'll have to be somebody I'm not. And I can't. I'd rather just be myself and find someone who wants me for who I am. And again, I can't. I have to. I'm kind of heart on your sleeve kind of person. I say what I believe and I say what I think, and I find it really, really difficult actually to try. And I don't know why other people seem to find this so easy, putting up a persona. It's just they just do it all the time, and they do. It becomes like almost. Was it Stephen Fry said? His character said in V for Vendetta, "You wear a mask for so long, you forget who was underneath it." Yeah. Anyway, here's a timestamp on the same video by Red.
That's true. Now, your cynical view of Meghan Markle, like she's a gold digger, is possibly justified. I mean, this is unfortunately for anyone.
Yeah, right. This is unfortunately I've become more and more certain of that now. Unfortunately, yeah. Red Snapper. Oh, right. This is where we get onto the royal family. I did a series of videos about the royal wedding. Yeah.
And as I said, I believe Meghan was chosen for Harry. I don't think it's her. I don't think it was her choice. I don't think it was his choice.
How was Meghan chosen for Harry? Asked Red. How do they engineer that? Are they given a script by Lord Rothschild? I actually don't think that anymore. I actually don't. I think Harry is in a very, very difficult position. He's bend sinister. In other words, he's an illegitimate second son of who's now the monarch. And his own father, I think Hewitt's now died. He's probably had little or no contact with his own father. He's certainly never allowed to publicly acknowledge who his own father was. And his mother was murdered by the establishment that unfortunately, his own father is a part of. And it's possible his own father knew about it. The man who's now the King of England.
So Harry is in an awful position, and I think he went for Meghan because he's a vulnerable man and he's clutching, and he comes across a woman who's affectionate, attractive, and she's simply a socialite. She's a conventional gold digger is maybe too strong a word, but she's acutely aware of, say, status, and goes for the highest status of all. And he's, of course, he's the most eligible bachelor in the world, and she's got him. I mean, yeah, a man like him's always going to be in that position, though, because you can have your pick of almost anyone, but how do you know who really wants you and who doesn't? You see what I mean? Who just sees you as a pile of cash and a place to get like envious looks from other women and get high status. How would you ever know? At least that's a problem I never have to face. No one's ever going to be after me. Well, at least not yet, until my book's a bestseller. But no one's ever going to be after me for my fortune, or my status.
Need to call for socialism, and I'm certainly not. I certainly wouldn't take that bait. I mean, I did when I was like a teenager.
All right. You would never call for socialism, Ben, but would you ever call for national socialism? No, I'd never call for either. I was actually a socialist. I was a trade unionist, but when I was very young and naive and stupid, when I was a teenager, when I first joined the hospital portering service, I got into like trade unionism, which was a mistake. But we all make mistakes. What's this? 127.51. Do you drink sherry?
And it's true that viewing figures were down on this one compared to previous royal weddings, but
oh yeah, I did. I watched the previous one with William and Kate, and I was at Sue Staines' house, my partner at the time, and I had like a big bottle of sherry, and she was out at work, and I was just sitting there knocking back the sherry. Yeah. Oh, reply to comment 17. What a silly question! As if Bigfoot will be caught on TV by Red Snapper here.
And now, in a country full of CCTV, right? Well, CCTV, yes, exists indeed. You can't walk down a street in England without being filmed on CCTV. But last time I checked, Bigfoot wasn't walking down the high street in your town.
Yeah, Bigfoot avoids human contact. Bigfoot is very, very evasive and elusive. For example, people often describe having encounters in the woods, and the Bigfoot will sometimes approach a campsite, but they'll often, the moment you go towards them, they'll turn and run away. Yeah, so no, it's not going to be caught on CCTV because he's never going to walk down a high street. Okay, Awake and Aware conference, my most recent video. Green Tea says, right, here we go. So timestamp. How many how many have representation at Davos and who, etc.? What's this?
But he says this is it, because everything Matt said at that point is true. Everything. There are very, very unpleasant beings.
Right, how many aliens have representation at Davos and who? Probably quite a few, although they probably you probably don't realize they're aliens because they look too much like us. Rick Horden says on Awake and Aware Conference 2025, no one's claimed a gold tinfoil hat, incidentally. Green Tea, you didn't claim your gold tinfoil hat. Anyway, here we go.
Angels, but if you read the Bible, angels are not described physically.
Oh, right, yes. Rick Horden says seraphim and cherubim are six-winged angels. Cherubim also have multiple faces. Yeah, there's actually a video I saw on YouTube which was what angels really look like. And some of them are like literally like massive circles with multiple eyes, like monsters. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. I didn't actually mention that. But, yeah, some of them are. But they certainly don't look like they're depicted in ecclesiastical art. They don't. Winged humanoids, though. Winged humanoids do appear in paranormal folklore and in report, even in modern times, we have reports. Fetler John says on Awake and Aware Conference 2025, third, bronze tinfoil hat, delightful. Yeah, well, so far you're the only one who's claimed any kind of hat, because Rick could have got the silver and Green could have got the gold. Red Snapper says here on Awake and Aware, fourth, no tinfoil hat award, sadly. Unless you want to go woke, Ben, everyone has to get a prize, or we might hurt feelings. Not in this channel, mate. Not in this channel. It's first come, first served for your tinfoil hats, mate. Definitely. Reply to comments 17. Oh dear, algorithm alert. Right, I'm not going to click on this, Red Snapper, because I've got a feeling, because I want this video to stay on YouTube. But I've got a feeling I say something a bit politically incorrect then, don't I? I'll click on it after I've finished recording, all right, and find out what it was. Reply to comment 17, Red Snapper here. What was this? Tell me more about the... tell us more about the bad hotel. Oh, right, what's this?
Tom's videos says on Return to Probe, it's illegal to give a glass of water for licensed premises. However,
oh, right, yes, that was this hotel. That was the Speaker's Hotel in Probe for a few years, run by this big, brutal South African woman that me and my friend nicknamed Mrs. Terre Blanche. She was the wife of Eugene Terre Blanche. And, oh, she was awful. She wouldn't serve me with tap water. She kept changing the prices behind the bar. There was all crap behind the bar. There were no draft. The bar was just like this chipboard plank. There were no draft ales or anything. It was awful. It was an awful place. Absolutely awful. She was very rude and very unhelpful. Awake and Aware, Neil Peel, Buckingham Palace, the free home given to the monarchy, self-entitled land grabbers and freeloaders, yes, and reptilians, yes. Jinskin Pivot says on Awake and Aware, yes, there is a stone circle on the moon, Ben. There are also stars and celestial clusters in the shape of a bear, a bull, a crab, a horse head, carrots that look like people, and burns on toast resembling Christ. Yes, pareidolia. I know, Jim. I know what point you're making. Pareidolia. The constellations are essentially pareidolia. Yeah. He carries on. There's a face on Mars when the sun gets at a specific angle, and Ramesses II carving over an earlier Seti I carving in a hieroglyph in Egypt resembling a helicopter. Right. Your point you're making is there are things that look like things because of pareidolia. I know. Now, in my skeptic video, I described to you exactly why pareidolia has a limit. You can only use the pareidolia argument so far. It's like the coincidence argument. It's connected to that. You can only go so far with it and no further. And you skeptics now, I think the burden of proof is on you to decide where that cutoff point should be. And when it's there, you have to stick to it. Okay? But I take your point on these things. Some of these things I don't believe in, the Egyptian thing. The constellations obviously are simply the way we see the sky. I've often said, if you pick the Earth up and moved it to another part of the universe, we would still see stars. We might even see some of the same stars, but they would be in a completely different pattern. And over time we would develop new constellations. Yeah. He carries on. LROC photographed a feature, that's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, between Surveyor 3 and Apollo 12 LEM, which is clearly a collection of craters and rocks, which, if you isolate or ignore immediate other features, may be said to be circular. Pareidolia, like deja vu and the Mandela effect, is a brain fart with zero sinister or alt-universe connotations. Okay. I disagree with you about the Mandela effect and deja vu. Look at my Anthony Peake videos for details. Pareidolia, as I said, you can only take it so far. Now, as far as this particular structure on the moon goes, I don't know enough about it to say for sure. This is something that was pointed out by Maria Wheatley during her talk. I haven't looked into it enough to say whether or not it's true or false. Right, reply to comment 17. Did Jim Morrison's father have him killed? What's this? I know that Jim Morrison didn't get on with his father. His father was...
opinion here. I'm very far from the only researcher making these statements. Look at the work of the late Dave McGowan, the Unspun podcast of Jan Irvin, the podcast of Crow 777, John Adams and the Hope Busters, Tim Kelly, and our Interesting Time podcast, many others who have devoted hours of professional research into this subject, like particularly the case of Morrison and his father. Are they all talking shit? Of course, Jim stated in interviews that he hated his father and disavowed him for his actions. That's what lifetime actors are trained to do. The psyop wouldn't have worked very well.
All right, I think this may be something related to what Mark Devlin was talking about. Jim Morrison's father was called George Stephen Morrison. He actually died in 2008, long after his son. He was a United States Rear Admiral and Naval Aviator, and he was involved in intelligence. Yeah, this is why there's this theory that Jim Morrison is some kind of shill or mind control programmer and programmer. Yeah, but his son Jim Morrison was died many years before. He died in July 3rd, 1971, many years before his father. And Red Snapper says here, Did Jim Morrison's father have him killed? I don't know. I don't know. Mark Devlin is the expert on the music industry. He's the expert on there. Right, reply to comment 17. And we have here, where are we? Okay. Is the pub shut now? What's this? The Eagle and Child on Broad Street. It's a lovely pub, actually. If you go in there, you can actually. Right, I haven't checked. Right, you may remember from my Mark Devlin video, my recent Mark Devlin. I went to the Eagle and Child, and it was still shut. So whether it's going to open again, it's such a classic pub, so much history there. They've got to reopen it. Actually, I should go and check to see if it's open again. Red Snapper. I won't click this timestamp on 17, but did you win that battle with your landlord re the smart meter installation? No, the smart meter was installed, which is a shame. Yeah. Awake and aware, nothing as it seems. I see that Kerry is still the Intel lady. I predict that the only event that will occur this month on the Golden Gate Great Bridge is a 7-foot tide on the 22nd. All right, well, sometimes you can predict tides, nothing, when they're going to be big major spring tides and autumn tides and summer tides, etc. Oh, Kerry's not Intel lady. Intel lady is someone else. Intel lady is a comedian who takes the piss out of her. And she's really funny. I've already shown you some of her videos. I won't show you any of her videos, but she's incredibly funny. This is her, Intel lady, and she does impressions of lots of people. There's No Brainer with Angela Rayner, that's good, and she's got a few of Kerry Cassidy, which is so funny. Yeah, there's all kinds of people she satirizes and impersonates, and she's so cool. Yeah, let's just have a look at her. Let's have a look. Let's see. Yeah, Kerry Cassidy. Kerry catch me outside a Project Not a Lot. Drop some truth bombs. Let's give a little clip of this.
A gifted psychic artist can reveal that to you.
I don't think she'll mind if I just show a brief clip.
It appears that I have a troll who is talking utter nonsense, and as an independent journalist, I need to.
Oh gosh, that's just so funny. I don't know if Kerry would see the funny side of that. I mean, I hope she does. I mean, people take the mickey out of me, and I just laugh at them. I mean, I hope Kerry sees the funny side of that. John Nolan says on Awake and Aware, what about the Germans, Ben? Well, Michael Shrimpton wasn't there this year. Ellis Taylor, how are you? How are you? I hope you're doing well. I did speak to Ellis on the phone, actually. I've not talked to him for a while. Hi, mate. I just watched your video. I think it was Matthew who wrote the Alien Chronicles with Neil Haig. I have a copy somewhere. Right, Neil Haig, yes. Oh, I knew I'd heard about it somewhere. Anyway, I hope you're doing all right, Ellis. Do check out Ellis's channel. He's been dividing the line in West Wales, across Pembrokeshire, doing the dowsing and things like that, and discovering ancient wells and stuff. Please do check that out. Awake and Aware. Paul Wills said, "Hi Ben, thanks for taking us once again on one of your reportages. It's very much appreciated." You're welcome. I'm so glad you enjoyed that. Paul Wills, bloody hell, Ben. Your talk with Jane Lee was very interesting. Yeah, we got on really well. She's kind of like quite a jolly, sort of friendly sort of person. And so we ended up having a long conversation, which was really, really good. I'm actually hoping to interview her for her HPANWO radio, actually. She'd be quite good. Paul Wills says on Awake and Aware, fuck me, Ben. Good God, man. That was a proper heart attack full English breakfast. Yes, indeed. I mean, as Alan Partridge says, I don't think I'd eat like that every day, because if I did, I'd be dead. Linton Ricketts again. You're not going to talk about the Marmite Man again, are you, Linton? This is on Cynthia's Watch Party live stream. How did you know who People was you watching him for ages? How did you get assigned? Put your analyst on danger money, baby. Linton, you're going to have to be a bit more comprehensive than that. Now it's time. Now that's the end of the community page notifications. So the next stage, of course, is to go on to reply to comments. Oh, sorry, no, go on to the bell notes which have been coming up. The notices I've been having while I've been making this video. So that's basically the last almost 4 hours now. Bloody hell. Red Snapper says here on 1 hour ago on Wake and Aware. So David Griffin did turn up. Apology needed. Okay, apology accepted on David's behalf. Yeah, I did owe him an apology actually, because it's just because he's got a reputation for being such a recluse. It was kind of a joke, but of course he was there. I shouldn't. Anyway, someone thumbed up my thanks for your reply. Something else here. Right, okay, that's it. That's right. Now that is the end of this reply to comments video, at least the YouTube version. Now, don't go away, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, because there is more. Okay, this is the end of this particular reply to comments video, and I thank you all of you for your comments. Good, bad, rude, abusive, critical, constructive criticism, destructive, whatever. All right. Even though some of the rude ones were quite amusing. And obviously, it goes without saying that if it wasn't for you making these comments, this video wouldn't happen. So thank you very much. Thanks especially to Red Snapper, who has been, he's really been going through my back catalogue and binge watching me. Thank you very much. And to Ginskin Pivot for asking me some very tough questions, which I've struggled to answer. That's all part of the exploration we're all on. And to all the other people who've commented, thank you very much indeed. Now, on Alt Tech, there's going to be an Alt Tech Annex coming up. That is another reply to comments video that will not be uploaded to YouTube, which will cover my comments on my Alt Tech site. So please do subscribe to me on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. Ben the JR Porter, you can find me very easily. I use the same channel name. I can't post links, unfortunately, because YouTube will delete them. And you'll be able to be going through the comments I get on those sites, many of which are far too edgy for YouTube, which is why I do the Alt Tech Annex. What's coming up next? Pardon me, I've got to stop burping for a start. I have recorded my Swindon Rabbit Hole talk, and so there's going to be a reportage of that, which I'm going to be uploading in the next few days. And of course, the Capel Green premiere. That's coming up soon as well. So please do stay tuned for that. Keep watching this channel. Thanks again for all your comments. Thanks for watching HPANWO TV. Hospital Port as pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.
Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids, psyops, saucers and black triangles, HPANWO.